The 1990s saw the birth of several internet chat rooms where people could create avatars and spend time in a virtual world with others. While these were designed for innocent entertainment, some used these for their own nefarious purposes. Today we dive down the rabbit hole of worlds.com and the cult of Saturn. This is Red Web. Task Force, it's a Monday, and we dug deep into the internet for this one. I'm Trevor Collins. That is Alfredo Diaz.
This frightens me.
Yeah?
I don't know. There's just something weird about like chat rooms. I don't know why. I've always been afraid of them.
It's twisty-turny, man. Like, there's so much loose ends on mysteries like this, and it's been a while since we've uncovered a really deep .com-centric mystery. But this one is one of those weird, nebulous ones that transcends reality into the online presence back and forth. And I'm going to say this outright. This is a very difficult one to pin down. There's a lot of loose ends that you just can't find the information for. So I'm going to do my best, but use that gut instinct of yours to stop me down whenever you feel lost. Or scared.
I'm just a little scared.
A little scared?
Right? Yeah, because I mean, like, if you're like talking to people online, maybe like in a Discord server or TeamSpeak or whatnot, if you want to like send it back,
sure.
Then it's a lot harder for people to be weirder using their actual voice, you know?
Right.
And like you have like Reddit and forums and threads, blog posts and stuff like that where people get together and they get together and they post their thoughts and everything like that, but that's not like usually in real time, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a post here, maybe a day later, maybe a couple hours later. Chat room's just like it's just anonymous words flowing out of someone at like the speed of light.
You don't know what you could find, what you could hear.
Yeah.
This is that Web 1.0 kind of stuff as we transcended into 2.0 with social media and whatnot.
Was this just as like chat rooms, like text rooms?
This is early websites. This is chat rooms. This is MMOs. This is potential ARGs.
MMOs
this is
too?
Everything we've talked about ever when it comes to online mysteries. This hits all of those.
Okay.
And so this stems from a time where anonymity was of the utmost importance to the internet, right? The whole point was that you could have this centralized information bucket where people could share information and talk, but they also were so fearful of their personal information. So this was kind of crossing that border for one of the first times. Before then, obviously, Web 2.0 brought social media to the forefront where your data was all out there.
All the time.
And now that's the internet that we've come very used to, right? Like you say, you go to Discord, your voice is there, your name is there, your footprint, your digital footprint is all over the place.
All over. I'm stepping on everything
Stepping
digitally.
on everything. But, to age ourselves a little bit, this harkens back to a time where your parents were like, hey, don't say your name online. Make sure you got a screen name that's like Big Poop or 27, you know what I mean?
Big Poop. Big Poopin'.
Hey, your bio just says dropping loads. All right, so let's dive into this one because it gets hairy. There's a lot of information. So like I said, feel free to stop me with any questions you have. We're going to start at the top with worlds.com. Gracie put this one together with her research. We're going to try to make sure we keep this nice and organized, okay?
Worlds.com. So many, like 99.9% of the episodes we do, I just have had no clue of it ever existing whatsoever.
And that's a good point. That's why we're here. For the people out there, the task force that love mysteries.
That terrify me.
But they don't want to get into the weeds. They don't want to dirty their hands. We'll do that for them. Deliver it all in a nice bite-sized package.
By putting our digital footprint on all over the place.
Someone. Yeah. But all right. So let me set the scene. As you enter the 1990s, the internet is really just picking up steam, and it's on its way to becoming a household name at this point, right? You end the decade, the 1999 dot-com bubble, where everyone and their parents have a .com, right? But in April of 1995, Worlds.com comes online. It's a chat room-style 3D virtual world, and it was introduced by the company Worlds Incorporated. Think of it like Ready Player One, a very, very early version, lo-fi as all get out, version of Second Life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Worlds.com was a new and more interactive version of immersing yourself into an online world compared to, for example, video game consoles at the time, right? The SNES, you have the PlayStation, N64, Sega Saturn, all coming out in this kind of time window.
Right. But I mean, talking consoles, this is just like computer web. There's a lot more you can do there, not as restrictive. You have an operating system to work off of.
Right. This was essentially a project designed to get people interacting with this very, very new internet forum, right? This in ways that games hadn't really cracked yet. So players got to create their own avatars. They could personalize their appearance. They created worlds that they could be much more familiar with. Modern takes would be like Roblox or Second Life. I mean, this was very new at the time, but now that we speak of it here in 2022, it feels, of course, obvious, right?
Yeah, where it's like, this is what doesn't have this in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
I mean, damn, you even have like HOAs. They're like, create your profile, talk to your.
Oh my God,
It's
everything's got profiles now.
Why do I need a profile to talk to?
Well, that's what Web 2.0 is all about,
weird.
baby. They want your data so they can sell it to someone.
That's true.
Data is a multi-trillion-dollar business, and you're just not in on it. So anyway, that's
true.
my own personal opinion. But anyway, this is a very visual kind of thing. And we're going to do our best to make sure you can still understand this as an audio podcast. But if you want the visuals, head to Twitter or head to youtube.com, both with the handle RedWebPod, youtube.com/RedWebPod, and you can check out some of the visuals. But I'm going to show Fredo some of the worlds that can be made. For example, if you remember the 90s, we got Hanson World, we've got New York Yankees World, we've got
so they
Sky World.
just really went with just oh my God.
Yeah. Just themes, you know?
Bowie World.
Think of this
Sky
as GeoCities
World,
or MySpace,
Holy
but in
hell.
3-dimension. Right?
Animal House, the Fun House,
You got a lot of RGB.
Hanson World.
People just throwing images up because they
This seems like Second Life with like RuneScape graphics.
can. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, that's what this.
If RuneScape was like scaled up a little bit.
Just a tiny bit, like that's as close as I can describe that to be.
This New York Yankees world looks definitely like MLB 1995.
Yeah.
Right? From the PlayStation.
Yep.
But transitioning into the early 2000s, Worlds.com saw a decrease in traffic as other MMOs started to become online, right? You have Toonstown, you got Room Space, Second Life, all these.
Rune Space?
What? Room Space.
Oh, I thought you said Rune Space.
Oh,
wait, what?
No, Toontown, Room Space, Second Life, Club Penguin, I'm imagining is in there.
Oh, I thought you actually was like Club Penguin was actually on that list.
No.
I was like,
It's not on this list, but I hoped it was.
why?
But basically, competition is starting to heat up, right?
Yeah.
People's attention are being pulled in many different ways. Eventually, like any monster in the industry, like YouTube.com suddenly has all of its competitors in social media. You can upload video anywhere. But despite this, Worlds.com survived, and it's still, to this day, downloadable and accessible, right? So as with everything tangible that we discuss, I urge caution as you download anything on the internet. I don't think I need to even say that anymore, but, I'll say it. If you go to Worlds.com, it's still up. Just proceed with caution if you really want to do that.
I mean, what is there, like 50 people on Worlds.com?
That's a really good question.
I bet it doesn't look any better than what it looks like on that picture.
Oh, no. I mean, you look at World of Warcraft, and it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
But when it comes to why they're still online, it's rumored that the game's original creator, Tom Kidron, is still funding the server with his own money and running it out of his home, as if he has maybe a server room or something.
What?
As to why? Question mark. I don't know.
I mean, maybe just because it was his baby, he doesn't want to kill it off.
That's probably it. I mean, if there's any people still using it,
yeah,
they probably feel like it is their home, like a very dedicated, passionate 50
I grew up
people.
on this. I didn't want to leave it, and this is where I grew up, and this is where I die.
What? Yeah, maybe. But in the early 2010s, and I just want to say as an aside, I'm really happy we're in the 20s, so we can stop with the O's and the 10s and the teens. We could just say 20s, 30s, 40s. We could go back to that.
Yep.
But anyway, in the early 2010s, Anons on 4chan, they have many boards on 4chan, but the two that we're going to talk about are the V and X boards. I believe, if memory serves, that the X board is a paranormal-centric board. I'm not sure what the V board is. Don't really care to visit 4chan, but anyway, on these online forums.
I have some thoughts, but I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah. On these anonymous forums, they talked about like cultish, illegal behavior from various individuals that were still playing this game. This is where the conversation really starts to take a cultish turn with regards to this game. Now, other 4chan members began to investigate this behavior and these anecdotal kind of pieces of evidence, and they stepped back into worlds.com themselves, essentially entering the fray. All of these anonymous users started to then repopulate this world to say, okay, is there a cult happening here? What's really going on? Regardless, the story kind of made it go viral.
Or are the people like the 50 people that are still playing where they just like, hey, let's just make up this cool story and see if we can get people to flood back in?
That is entirely possible, and we're gonna kind of talk about that. But there are two regular users of worlds.com that we're going to discuss in more detail because they seem to be at the center of these cult rumors. The first one we're going to talk about is a name that I'm not sure if I know how to pronounce because I've never really heard it before except for on Nexpo's videos that we're going to talk about him in a second. But Nexialist, Nexialist. So, in a blog post from January 21st of 2012 named ForgottenWorlds.com by someone with the username George Costanza, a Seinfeld character. This blog post describes a particular player by the name of Nexialist. So this person was a regular player of the game who had been trying to entice 4chan users from, like I mentioned, the V and X forums into playing the game with him.
And this is in 2010?
Good question. 2012 was a blog post about these goings on.
Right.
I believe that these were happening in the several years prior. This was kind of a known thing happening.
This like virtual chat room was thriving in what year again?
It came into fruition in 1995. It started to peter out in the early 2000s, but it continues to exist today. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that 4chan it got on their radar.
Right. So I mean, you're talking like 5+ years after this, like, kind of fell off. Someone's like, hey, come back. It's awesome.
It seems that this person kind of like, was drawing people in over the years to what
you're trying
degree,
to
it's hard to say. Right.
Right. I think the thing there that just doesn't make too much sense to me is just like going out of your way to try and recruit. But also, you got to think, I have no idea, and maybe they did, but like the actual structure and foundation and the way the chat room functions and everything like that, like it's not like they made a sequel. So the base programming is probably super old and outdated. There's not a lot of great features, I'm assuming. And if it petered out, they probably didn't have like as many updates back then, right? As they do today. Today it's like update. Back then it was just like
20 gig update. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna uninstall this game now.
Exactly. And now it's just like, back then it was like
let it ride
and see what happens, and we'll do one big update.
You can't fix perfection.
But like
when you launch something as perfect as
why would you want to sit in that?
I don't know.
Like imagine
this. So here's
remember
the thing.
Like the old Xbox live chat rooms where you had to go to the dashboard in order to create a room and then have people. Yeah, imagine like if you're just like you wanted to stay in that.
Yeah, but imagine now. I'm gonna jump analogies and say MySpace instead. A MySpace that you can enter with a digital character. When you can customize it that thoroughly, people start to get personal ownership over their space, right? And so, yeah, you and I might not relate to that idea, but the fact that people have nestled homes and places and networking,
but
people,
when Space Friends comes out and everyone migrates to that and has more features and better customization and everything like that, and like that's where all your
people hate
are.
Change. People retaliate against change. They want to draw you back in.
For sure, but we are talking about something that has like died out, right? And other things are thrived in its place.
Sure.
So yes, people hate change, but when the thing that they're holding on to dies out, they're going after. Is a dinosaur. Then they're going after what they're thriving for.
I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, there must be some reason as to why these folks stayed behind. And some people believe that it's cult-centric, right? Nefarious. So, within Worlds.com, Nexialist had a very large following and was known as the key bearer. It could be because of this following that they stuck around. It could be for many different reasons. But it is rumored that finding him within the game is extremely difficult, if not impossible. Some say that the only way you find him is that he finds you. That you are a user of the game, that you're browsing and playing and whatnot, and that he will appear to you if he tries to recruit you.
I need to know is it like just like a World of Warcraft where you go and talk to different people?
Yes. So again, it's kind of like this it's just kind of like a platform.
Like a
You can have all these different
digital-
chat rooms, but they're not
Mhm.
like AIM where you're just typing. It is a chat room in the sense of like
your
VR.
avatar.
What is that? VR chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you are in a three-dimensional space, kind of like a crappy metaverse,
Right.
and you're just a character walking around, and there's different themes, i.e. different lobbies, and so you can just pop in and walk around in whatever different lobby you want to be in. Now, this Nexilus guy would come to you, find you in any server, pull
Right.
you to his server, and then show you his wares,
First off,
right?
hacker, if he could just pull you, or
Well, I
maybe
mean, you would
maybe
invite
it does.
you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But is this something that was like talked about and rumored when things were popping in like the population of the rooms, like the chat rooms? and the-
That's a good question. So
Right?
it doesn't seem that Anonymous caught on until the early 2010s, but I think that that's looking back. So I would
Right.
wager that this theoretical cultish behavior, these
Mhm.
two individuals that we're going to talk about, I believe that their activity was sprawled across the 2000s, those early
Got it.
2000s. And so that's what makes this so hard to pin down, is that a lot of this is anecdotal. A lot of this is lost to old internet. And so
Yeah.
we can only gather the data that is available to us and try to draw connections and
Right.
conclusions
You're
between.
not talking about a crime scene. You're talking about the
Right.
vast internet.
Yeah. But imagine now you're playing this game, this person finds you, they approach you, and the way it tends to go down, again, per the story, is that you would be approached by his creepy avatar, and I'll show you an image of what that looks like in a second. And he would stand in front of you speechless for a few minutes until he then invites you by way of message to join him, to follow him. And if you then follow him, he takes you on a tour of his world that is filled with satanic symbols and disturbing images. Again, this is what really makes it known that it's early internet, because it looks like the only texture, the only image used to supply this world is just satanic imagery, right? So you just look at the walls and they're all red with devil horns, right?
Right.
I'll show you here an image, or disturbing faces and expressions, stuff like that. That's what he looks like. You can see his room behind
Stands
him a
there
little
for
bit.
a couple minutes.
And I believe this is the entrance to it,
Maybe
which
that's
looks like
just
a,
like
a
the-
hellhole.
Maybe it's just like the attention span of like the 2020s, but like a couple minutes, I'd be like, after like 30 seconds, I'd be like, okay, maybe they're AFK. and
That's
then walk
exactly what I would have
away.
thought. I would have dodged this cult by going, this man's AFK.
Yeah, he's not here. Okay, I thought something weird was gonna go down, but nothing's happening.
Dang,
so
looks
goodbye.
like old Nexy fell asleep at the wheel. You know,
Yeah,
maybe
someone
got up to get
passed
some
out, maybe
Cheetos.
too many
or
hours.
he
It's
ran out of
really
Mountain
funny
Dew or
because
something.
like this is supposed to be terrifying and just
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
this looks like an old game.
Right.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
It loses its terror
Over-
in
yeah.
the modern arena for sure.
For sure. This looks like
I would hate to talk. I would hate to know what cults are out there online now and what they look like
Oh,
in
God.
2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to be some immersive stuff.
That-
You pop on a VR helmet and you're actually
right,
there.
Exactly. And
Haptic suits and whatnot. They can tickle you and what?
Oh, there. Yeah.
Nope,
yeah.
nope, 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 nope.
No, you're right. There are haptic suits for that. Yeah. This looks so old, dude.
Could you imagine like you're in a
Like,
VR chat room and they
so
go,
old.
Gucci goo, follow me to my satanic room.
Oh my God.
And then you say no thank you.
Like a 2 feet
So
tall
anyway,
knuckles.
Yeah, let's come back to kind of this guy and we'll jump into the next one. So after the tour, again, as these stories go, he will then message you audio files, and this is kind of where it gets creepy. If you can get past the imagery of his world, he messages you audio files through their chat feature, which enable you to send audio clips. And typically these audio sounds, per the story, are animals in pain or other similar sounds, disturbing sounds to say the least. Players often then would leave the game after this interaction out of fear, out of misunderstanding for what this platform could be. You know, this is, again, you got to think these are early internet users and they don't know the full potential of it. They don't know what could happen with it. And so
Right.
immediately, a lot of people jump off of this. They report their experience to various online boards such as 4chan, and then they're like, I'm out. But this kind of fueled the cycle of curious 4chan users going into the game, finding this individual, having concerning interactions, again, leaving
Oh, so
the
they
game.
actually like found this individual.
Yeah, it kind of became this vicious cycle where people were like, I heard stories about this person. Let me go find them. Some would be lucky enough to find them, if you want to even say lucky, have these experiences, share them, and it continues to snowball into this very weird viral story. So again, I'm building the case here. I'm kind of laying the groundwork that we'll harvest the fruit from here in a second. But let's talk about the second user that comes up often. And this is where it starts to get hairy as well.
Do you think like he also, or the person also updated their, I'm assuming they're sending it via chat through not like an attachment type of function.
I believe so.
Right. Do you think they updated their attachment files like higher quality?
That's a really good question.
Or is it still just the like? I just imagine because it's
really compressed.
Either really compressed and scratchy, or I just imagine in my head for some reason it's like one of those kid toys where you pull the string and right, like
the cow goes,
and just like that's. It just looked so old and dated, right? So in my mind, and he's just like, "Do you want to hear something terrifying?"
Yeah.
It's like,
it could just be this dude recording himself through his phone handheld piece going, and then like sharing that. But either way, it's
terrifying
disturbing.
back then, and then maybe now he's just like, oh, I'm losing my touch.
I mean, think of The Ring. We've talked about this before, but you play that tape now, and you're like, this is low quality. But that makes it spooky. But if The Ring came out, put out a 4K Blu-ray of that haunted tape, you'd be like, looks too fake, you know?
Yeah,
you put that TV smoothing on it, and you're like, nah, it's not creepy anymore. It just looks like a woman brushing her hair.
Highly produced.
Look, a lighthouse, a fly. Whoa. So anyway, I don't know. I really don't really want to find these audio clips, but if they exist, you know. Let's talk about the second user that tends to come up a lot. This person goes by the name of Jimbly, and Jimbly was mentioned back, I mentioned this online user named George Costanza. In their blog experience, they kind of shared this name. And according to the blog post, joining Jimbly's online network requires bizarre asks and exposing information such as mugshots or even nude imagery. So one person approaches you, silently stares you down until you kind of go, what? And then they say, come to my world. And then you go on this satanic tour. This person will reach out to you, ask you to do very bizarre tasks. And then if you do those, they might then let you into their world. Very, very creepy stuff. You never know who's behind all of these things, especially in the early internet. But again, we're kind of laying the groundwork for a lot of these weird odds and ends that come up. So in Jimbly's self-created world stood 30 different rooms, filled with various mugshots. Room 2, in particular, was dedicated especially to Jimbly himself. Now, Christian, I don't know if that means images of Jimbly, or if this room in particular was just an homage to Jimbly, to be like, hey, this is my world, or anything like that. I don't know if they were exposing their own face to the world or not.
So like Kiki's Delivery Service and Totoro and Studio Jimbly.
And yeah, were there any like PG-friendly rooms in this world that we can kind of soften the blow with?
I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure there were no PG-friendly rooms. It's kind of hard to say because, like it's been said, this is a tenuous story.
Yes.
But I believe Room 2 is dedicated to kind of a mixture photos of Jimbly as well as being like dedicated to his like a I don't even know how to describe it really.
Almost like a totem or totem's the wrong word, but like a
shrine.
A shrine.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
I believe it was like a mixture of that, but I'm honestly not really sure.
Interesting. Well, the blog that we're talking about kind of theorized that these two individuals were working together to solicit perhaps inappropriate files, pictures, information from individuals to then store and share them on Jimbly's world. That's where we start to get into the theoretical territory. But YouTuber Nexpo, who is somebody who I've followed for quite some time, very well-crafted videos, they actually made a video covering Nexilist and Jimbly, and it appeared that the true cult was led specifically by Jimbly, that maybe the other individual was part of it or just tangential. But following Nexpo's video on the two and on the cult rumors, Worlds gained an influx of new users. I mean, essentially this went viral because of the popularity, and that's the centerpiece here that only adds to more confusion. The more people that talk about this, like ourselves, ironically, the more misinformation spreads, and the more this just garners attention without any, there's just more loose ends, really. So many of the regulars of this game, people on worlds.com, started to grow annoyed with the viral attention most of these folks that were just using this world for whatever purposes they have, but were not at all attached to this cult or these users. So people are starting to get really annoyed by this influx. People thinking that, that there has to be some cult. So they're like, no. This is just a regular old thing. This ain't a cult.
You have the small handful of people that have been existing in this area for quite some time. And they're just doing their thing, and they're chatting, they're, saying hi to old buddies on the daily, etc. Then you have this influx of
people are showing up.
People showing up going like, hey, where's the cult? Hey, where's the guy? Show me the person. Like, where are they? Give them to me. Hey, are you a part of a cult? What's going on? Hey, can I join? Like, just imagine the spamming of all that annoying stuff.
Oh, yeah. And so for the diehards, I'm sure it was just very annoying. In fact, there is a mod of the world's subreddit, username Whirlaburla, who shared a blog post dispelling rumors of any cult activity or illegal activity going on. And with regards to the mugshots in particular, they said this, quote, "Mugshots is a world created by Jimbly, which features many user-submitted pictures along with their username. It was a way to know who you were talking to without being too invasive back then. While the anonymity was nice back in the day, some people really appreciated worlds and the users on it, and submitting a picture was a way to share a virtual connection with one another." Which makes sense, right? This is probably one of the first kind of self-created social media platforms. People started to build real-world connections through this digital platform, and they wanted to share pictures of themselves to create a little bit more of an interactive and intimate setting. But despite these many PSAs on the world's online subreddit, some newcomers were still very curious about the ongoing secrets that could potentially be hidden behind the walls of something like worlds.com. In fact, there was a 5 gigabyte file that only fueled this fire. 5 gigabyte file doesn't really sound that big, but it can contain a lot of text information.
I mean, if it's
sift
just
through.
like Word docs or sound bites, like 5 gigs could be thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Right. So there was a 5 gigabyte file that was archived with information regarding worlds, and it was found on a website called Anon Files. Simply enough, Anon Files was an online file storage place that offers anonymity. You didn't need to make an account or log in order to upload files. And so you can imagine, I mean, that's that early Western internet stuff.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Hey, just throw it up there. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Like, it's all good. And now it's like, you need your name, your social, your phone number, and
well, that's because
email
people started
address.
pirating stuff that way or
Yeah, that's
sharing
true.
viruses and all of that. So within this file, though, was information regarding a group called the Cult of Saturn. We're going to do our best to dive into this file, by the way. But again, there's so much information within this that it's hard to succinctly dive into it. So we're going to focus on the main pieces of information, and the rest is out there. I would really urge caution if you wanted to start downloading random files from the internet, but that information is available to parse if one was so inclined. So moving on now from those two specific individuals, I've kind of given their backstory. Now if I mention them, you'll know where I'm at. But let's talk about this file now. There was a YouTuber by the name, I believe, Eudoxia Mysteries, and a Reddit user by the username Mugetsu TV. Both explored this 5 gigabyte file, so you and I, Task Force, don't have to. And they called it the internet's biggest rabbit hole. So like I said, a lot of information, but in this file were links to a blog by a woman named Tara Oraso, and that was in July of 2015. This shared some of her experiences involving a cult. So we're going to go off the beaten path for a second, but just like all internet mysteries, it's going to coalesce here at the end.
This is okay.
So stop again. It gets windy.
There's
so stop me.
No. I'm just saying there's like little breadcrumbs of creepiness.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where you go, oh, these breadcrumb chunks are bigger.
Oh yeah.
Because now we're really talking like cult stuff, right? The other stuff before, it's like it could just be someone being weird on the internet, right?
Exactly.
Now
it's
you're
when
talking
they all
about
coalesce.
like someone just like, hey, I had this really weird cult experience, and there's these hidden files of like some. It goes from like someone could just be in that world messing around, you know?
Absolutely.
It takes a little bit more dedication and seriousness to have like a big 5 gig file. If I'm assuming it's all text or mostly text or just some text in there, like to write that out, hide it, not to have like a guaranteed payoff or something like that. This is where you gotta go, okay, this is more serious stuff that's
right.
happening
Like
here.
you got to believe someone someone tipped off somebody else as to the file's existence.
Yeah.
That or someone just going through this anonymous website filled with anonymous files and just downloading them all and just cracking them open, seeing what's inside like a wonder ball.
Insane. I mean, you grab a brand new computer and just...
Yeah, or open up like a sandbox browser with it. Anyway, so again, within all of this file comes a blog post from Tara Arasso. Okay, and that comes from July of 2015. Now, Tara worked alongside a man named Richard to research the cult and put out an informative yet very real blog post. When I say the cult, I mean the cult of Saturn. She joined this cult in 2010. Tara dated a guy who was into grunge and punk music, and they would often attend parties together. Eventually, the guy she was dating started to tell Tara about drugs that could be used to open your third eye, right? And then they began talking about worshiping the planet Saturn. So as she gets to know this guy's kind of unveiling a little bit more about him and this group that he's a part of. Once she became part of this group, others in this group told Tara about a book called The Book of Lock and Key. This book would sometimes be referred to as the Book of Loki, just because it sounds similar, but also evokes some very interesting thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So many occult communities have tried to find this book over the years. In fact, on many occult library websites, such as the X Library, someone posted they were looking for this book, and another person responded to them saying, quote, "Everyone knows this is an extremely rare and possibly non-existent book." But essentially, this X Library, it's its own website of occult books and literature and whatnot. I don't believe that this website exists any longer because I tried to find it, though we do have a screenshot of what it looks like. So essentially, we have this new book now that will be referred to a few times, but it's so rare, so difficult to find that some believe it might not even exist at all.
Interesting. So old school.
Yeah. But eventually, again, long story short, in this blog post, Tara then talks about being introduced to a man by the name of Frank Webster by one of her friends. This same friend seemed to worship Frank, and this is when Tara started to begin to realize, okay, I think I'm involved with a cult, because they kind of eased her into it, slowly unveiling weirder and weirder information and opening up their true nature a little bit more and more.
As far as you can, as fast as you can.
Oh, yes.
You're going to be sacrificed.
Well, perhaps.
To Saturn.
To Saturn.
Of all places.
They're going to launch you off, send you to the surface of Saturn where you'll fall for an eternity and let the gravity crush you into a diamond.
I'm still waiting for the turn here where they're like, Saturn was a symbol for something and they weren't actually worshiping the planet. Because right now it sounds like they're worshiping the planet.
You're talking about like a Roman god?
Or just
Saturn?
Anything that's not just the planet in the sky.
Right. Well, this isn't the first time we talked about Saturn, right?
No,
we
for
talked
sure.
About those tiles that often talk about Saturn, but they referred to like 2001: A Space Odyssey and all that. But let's wind it back a little bit. Let's talk about Frank. Again, a lot of different vectors here, so stop me if you get lost. So in 2009, this Frank Webster started this cult known as the Cult of Saturn. How did this start? Let's talk about it. So
he's the one that started the damn
He's the one that
thing.
started it. And that's why people were kind of worshiping him, because he's the centerfold to this whole thing. He's the leader of this cult. Yeah. So why did it start? Why is it called the Cult of Saturn? Well, in the early days of the cult, people would join and simply share ideas about the supernatural. This was just a way for people to share their stories about whether it be aliens or ghosts or anything in between. This is what they would do. That said, many early members used the group more in a way of making friends and partying than anything else, than anything that a cult might be doing. But that's kind of they put you in a sense of ease, right? They get you in a false sense of security. You're like, oh, this is just a networking, a social thing.
Right.
And suddenly the whole group shifts and then it feels like something else. But Tara wrote that in order to get his cult taken more seriously, Frank Webster started elaborate recruitments in London where he would take his cult into the streets for promotion, doing things like spray painting occult symbols on walls or other small efforts essentially that he would call missions. People go out on missions in London to recruit people. Now, jumping to the end, really, this recruiting method was somewhat successful in that they gained around 30 additional members to this cult at the Occupy London protests, if you recall those of many years ago. So yeah, this is just kind of now the start of the Cult of Saturn.
Were they always referring to themselves as a cult? Because before it just seems like you'd be like, hey, we just have like a club.
That's a good question. Christian, do you know if they like adopted the name Cult of Saturn later on, or if it was just like tongue-in-cheek early days, but then actually became serious? Maybe it was kind of something that they didn't outwardly say, but they knew what it was behind the scenes. I don't know.
I don't think they call themselves like a cult right away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know for a fact that 2 years after the fact, they know that they're a cult, and they know they're trying to recruit people. I just don't know.
Yeah, at that point in time,
started
it's
like that.
You're a cult, or you're trying to recruit people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably impossible to find, but I was just curious if off the bat they're like, we're a cult.
Yeah.
It just,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, if they're hanging out and partying and stuff like that, it just seems like, we just kind of have this club of friends.
Yeah. I would gather that Frank Webster started this to say, no, come over. We're going to just talk about the supernatural. You know, it's very light touch stuff. But then suddenly he's like, you know what? I think we need new members, right? And he starts to coax people around, and suddenly they've gently shifted without really realizing. I mean, I quickly walk you through Tara's experience via her blog post, and she's starting to realize like, oh, I was just doing this to party and meet friends, but now I'm being introduced to this guy, and you're like worshiping him, and you're telling me to do stuff.
Could you imagine if, we have board game nights?
Oh man,
we go and hang out and do board games.
Hey, before board game night tonight, everybody, I brought this goat.
Oh no, lamb chop! Just go ahead and hold this knife. No, but like, imagine set up a board game night like we usually do, and I was like, yeah, my friend Barry's coming over, and then Barry comes over, and like as soon as I
get on the ground, kiss the floor.
As soon as I see him, like he puts his hand out, and I take his hand and just kind of put it on my forehead to kind of give him a little bless.
Whoa.
Would you just be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I would. I'd be like, I'll shake your hand, I suppose, but I'm not going to smear your palm on my face. Like, what is this? I'd be very strange. I'd be taken aback. I'd be like, whoa.
And then,
but I'm not going to call you out because I'm like, this guy's clearly comfortable with you. And I'm not going to be like judgmental.
But then, you just start noticing different things like me. We have cheese and hors d'oeuvres, but he's got like his own platter of like foods. And
he pulls out his own Lunchable. Like it's a Ziploc bag of red meat I don't recognize.
Maybe. Or just like he has his own specially prepped meal that I have prepped for him.
Oh, man.
That's like, what'd you do?
I don't know, but I feel like board games would start to become more and more sparse. I'll be honest.
I
if
feel
Barry
like
starts showing up, rubbing you up and saying, "Give me my lunch," then I'm gonna kind of be a little off.
You're gonna start being busy whenever you ask.
I might start being busy. I might start hating board games. I might be sick those days.
I can't make it anymore.
Is Barry gonna be there? He is.
I'm just not a fan of betrayal anymore.
Barry has his own board game he wants to play tonight. It's gonna be really special. You should come. And that's when I go,
God.
Yikes!
Yeah, I feel like I'd have to be like, dude, are you like, is this like
you good?
Cult? Are you good? Like, I don't want to use the word cult here, but like,
but I will.
You're like a leader
Lowercase
of the
c
group.
for right now.
Yeah.
I will say I can't find anything that says when they adopted the name Cult of Saturn or incorporated the name Saturn into their group.
Yeah.
But it does kind of beg the question of how often do cults refer to themselves as cults?
That's a really good, I think
true. Yeah.
It's a good question. It's worth asking, but it's like,
did they ever call themselves that, or is that just what they became known as by others? But I can't find any concrete info.
I mean, I thought that was gonna be near impossible. I was just curious. But no, that's a good point. Do we just go, hey, we're a cult, or just go, hey, we hang out, and then everyone just go, this is a cult. This is a cult. Let's be real.
If I had to label this group, I'd say cult. Yeah. Hey everybody, Trevor here, and I'm going to dive right into it, just the meat and potatoes of the business. We've got a TikTok channel. I want to shout that out because it's doing quite well. Thank you all for joining it and following it and liking everything. You've had us pop off a few times now, so thank you very much. You can find that with a different handle, The Red Web. So check that out on TikTok. We do mini mysteries, sometimes things that you're going to recognize, but it's also our way to scratch that itch of those mini mysteries that can't really fill out a full proper episode. Also, if you like gameplay, here's another shout out to something else that Alfredo and I are doing. If you go to youtube.com/let's play, you'll see a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will, or rather a peek to a different curtain. That is the other job that Alfredo and I have. We played through the entire game of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. It's a spooky, scary horror game, and we had a good time while playing that. So if you want to check out what we do over there, you can check that out with a scary game. Other than that, let's talk about today's fantastic sponsors. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month, BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to take care of your most important relationship, the one that you have with yourself. You are your greatest asset, so invest the time and effort into yourself. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to worry about seeing anybody on camera or anything like that if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. This episode of Red Web once again is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Task Force, you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/redweb. That's BetterHelp.com/redweb. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Audible, where you will get tons of audio entertainment all in one app. You might know Audible for the incredible selection of audiobooks across genres, from bestsellers and new releases all the way to celebrity memoirs and mysteries, thrillers, so much more than that. But that's just, I'm just going to list out a couple of genres that they got. So whether you listen to audio at the gym, while relaxing at home, or on your commute, Audible has a ton to choose from. Audible members can choose one title per month to keep including new releases. And new members can try Audible for free for 30 days. I use Audible when I'm in the gym so I can listen to some of my favorite books. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning because I want to know what happens next in that novel, right? And so I also don't have to sit down and scrub my eyes across a page. I get to listen to it while I lift. I feel very efficient while doing it. And I'm getting yoked like a scientist. Visit audible.com/redweb or text redweb to 500 to try Audible free for 30 days. Again, that's 30 days of Audible for free at audible.com/redweb or text redweb to 500 to join Audible to listen to a ton of book and podcast titles. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Babbel. For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly the high point in our academic careers, but now thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. I like to use Babbel because it kind of gamifies the way that you can learn a language. It's always fun to learn a new language because you can use it wherever you want in life. It becomes like a tool that you can use as necessary if you travel around. But I don't really like memorizing words, and so that's why I like Babbel. Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. There are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can also access podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Right now, save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/redweb. That's babbel.com/redweb for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. And with that said, let's dive right back into the mystery. Well, this is where I want to do my best to take all of the paths, all of the background information we have laid out so far, and try to build it up now. And because it does all seem a bit non sequitur, let's build it up into one kind of case as to how these all kind of connect. So Tara found out in 2011 that one of the cult members convinced Frank that the cult would gain a larger following through making itself into an ARG. We've talked about ARGs many times in the past, but that means alternative reality games, or sometimes augmented reality games. And this is also kind of where the story starts to really get confusing, because they start as a cult, if you take it at face value, this is when they really start throwing things at the wall, seeing what will stick. How can we get more people on board with this group? How can we build more influence as a group?
Oh, God.
Yeah. So this group then took to 4chan and other online forums posting about their cult in relation to the end of the world theories with the Mayan calendar. If you recall, 2012 and the years prior were a buzz with the end of the Mayan calendar. 2012 was even a movie about like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so they were really trying to take some of that social momentum behind that, I don't know what you'd call it, urban legends,
right, the myth,
theory. They just try to kind of ride that wave to build up more of a presence.
Interesting. I just wouldn't want to be attached to that.
No, but when you're just trying to garner raw numbers, I guess maybe you do.
And I mean, also, like, you probably are looking for those type of minds to like bring in. That's probably right. Like,
absolutely, open minds.
That's the pool you want to swim in, essentially.
That's a good analogy. I'm not dipping my toes. That's a pool you wear a wetsuit in. Um,
Just one toe. Don't worry about it.
well, okay, you get in there.
Water's warm.
A lot of pee. A lot of pee in that pool. So, by trying to ride this wave, they jumped onto various social media platforms, and they even created a website called falseprophethq.com. This website was littered with occult symbology and symbols, and they actually had a countdown that featured on the front page that said, quote, "the end of the world," essentially counting down the days left. Now, this is a major red flag for any occult behavior, right? Regardless of their intent, a lot of these, you see it in pop culture, whether it's a joke like in Parks and Rec or whether it's serious like something maybe like this. They love to use that idea that they know when the world's going to end to rally their members, right?
Rally their members. And then everyone, the cult leader goes, "Hey, I made this special batch of Kool-Aid. Let's party the end of the world together." And then
Don't sip. They made it with pool water.
That's what.
Gross.
Oh no!
I'm building out a universe here. my cult MCU. Either way, though, they have these websites now, and so they're just trying to blast out to recruit people. They start making videos, and I don't know why or how this would really attract anybody, but the video featured a man in a balaclava talking about the occult, talking about the end of the world. I don't know if this is Frank himself,
right,
or if this is just somebody else trying to obscure their personal identity, but suffice to say, they certainly garnered a lot of attention. But and I don't want to say this too much, so this will probably be the last time I say it, but I admit that the timeline here of the events, all the information that we did in our research, this is where it's, really, really gets messy. So finding more details from here on out starts to become very difficult. But ultimately, the Cult of Saturn got a lot of attention, some with recruitment, but a lot of it featured trolls on the internet. In fact,
damn, no one's safe from the internet.
No one's safe from the internet, for better or worse, right? And this group that was trolling them actually named themselves the Cult of Mars. And they were essentially just a parody of the Cult of Saturn. So,
damn.
Regardless, we know for a fact that Cult of Saturn was a publicly used name, whether it was at the beginning of the cults in 2009 or popped up somewhere between then and 2013. I don't know.
Could you just imagine, like, we are the Cult of Saturn, and then someone else is going, "We are the Cult of Mars."
We're the Cult of Mars. We're the Cult of Mars.
Like, damn, man. Like, it's annoying and insulting. Like, leave me alone.
Who let their little cousin in here? We're the Cult of Mars. We're the Cult of Mars.
Like, leave me alone.
Join us. The world's going to begin in 2 years. But yeah, at this point, the Cult of Saturn seemed to disband. Let's kind of jump to that chase.
Oh.
Now.
What?
Yeah. I think, well, did the cult itself disband, or did they just shift their form? That's the question.
Like a chameleon.
Like a chameleon trying to dodge some trolls, but you never quite lose the trolls, do you? Now, in 2013, rumors of a cult on worlds.com began to appear online, which involved, once again, those people we talked about, Nexialist and, quote, following the White Rabbit. Now, again, remember, Nexialist's avatar featured all black clothing and a kind of artistic take on a rabbit's head.
I would say so.
It was a very creepy, almost geometric.
Round-ish face, but then also had like long ears that pointed up, it seemed like. Yeah. So it's like, oh, you go rabbit.
Right. Definitely rabbit themed here. And I believe this is way after The Matrix came out, which also popularized that phrase.
I was about to say, was this after The Matrix?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. This was 2013 where rumors really started to begin. So yeah, a lot of messaging around follow the White Rabbit, Nexialist looks like a rabbit, and then on April 23rd of 2013, a 4chan X thread titled, quote, "The Book of Loki and Nexialist" appeared on 4chan by the user named Clay. So this user Clay, like many others online in the occult communities, was trying to find that elusive book. You remember the book that was referred to as the Book of Loki.
Book of Loki.
Eventually, Clay realized that the Cult of Saturn was related to this book in some way. I'm not exactly sure how they came to that conclusion. Again, a lot is lost to the lack of archiving. But they created a 4chan thread with a supposed page from the book, and beneath that photo was the word Nexialist. This is when Clay, this anonymous user, Clay, searched the word Nexialist, figured out that this was a user within this game, Worlds Online.
Mhm.
And this is where, I mean, they went through all the rabbit hole features that we kind of loosely talked about, and they came to the conclusion that this cult in this game must be related to this book. And so we have kind of like a trifecta of things emerging together. The game Worlds, Nexilist, the user, and this book of
The
Lock
game
and Key.
itself?
Yes, as a platform. Maybe not the game like developers, but the people on the game. So that's how the game's involved.
Right. They use it as a vessel.
Yes. Basically, to this user and other users online kind of looking into this, it appeared that the cult really did join Worlds.com, but to what extent, we're not really sure. It's still to be determined. That's part of what's unsolved here. We're not sure how active they were, but that's really where people started to fly off the rails with, okay, these people must be the cult members. They're drawing people into this game only as a platform with which to continue to garner new members, right? So they're tagging the streets of London. They're trying to do an ARG. They have rumors of this book that is impossible to find, and now they have a presence in this Worlds.com game. So really, they're just like a very bleeding edge cult where they're trying to
Yeah.
recruit through very new, and well, I guess this game isn't bleeding edge anymore, but they were trying to recruit through these
Right.
new tactics.
But still, yeah, they weren't handing out like flyers and stuff like that, or just to recruit
Correct.
through friends. Like
Yeah.
they were actually trying to do like ARGs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so it seems like one of the first instances of a cult finding home online and recruiting online. This is one of the first cults that made the transcendence from physical world into the digital world to find new members.
So weird.
It's very weird. These are my favorite kind of internet mysteries where like what you would expect from real life
Yeah.
blends into the nebulous and unpredictable nature that is online. It's wild. But that's all the information we have, as succinctly as possible.
Oh.
You know, there are other resources out there that you can take a look at, but we have more information coming in the theories. But there are 3 primary theories that attempt to answer what was really going on here, what were the motivations of everybody, and maybe addressing how all these different factors link in together.
Yeah, because like what was the cult really even about?
That's a good question. What was their motivation?
Yeah.
At the beginning, talking about supernatural, but you're right. What is it now?
That's the biggest thing for me right now is like, what were they even about?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a very scary question.
sure, maybe like cosmetically they were a little scary looking with Nexilus and like all the
their
devil worship type
avatars
stuff.
and all that.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna think that like on the outside they look like that and the inside they're not something similar to that. But like, what exactly? It's just
Right.
so many like.
Could be shock and awe, right? It
Yeah,
could just be
yeah.
theater. But the real thing is, when it comes to this cult or any, is, and again, it's a scary question, is what is the motivation? I think we can all be flippant and try to answer that ourselves, but there are so many cults, and this might be one of them, that maybe just didn't get up to speed enough with enough members to really attempt their final vision, their motivation, whatever that is, whether it's, like you said, drinking the Kool-Aid, or if it's just trying to create a religion, a belief system, a town in Oregon. That's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. That's a whole occult thing. But like, maybe they just never got to the size that they wanted to then realize whatever nefarious motivations they
True.
might have had. And that makes me start to wonder, like, what kind of cults have been out there that could have done something wild,
But
that
just,
just
fizzled
didn't.
out.
And thankfully didn't, right?
I'm sure there's a ton out there that have very, very, very bad thoughts,
Hmm.
but executing them is accelerating that to a whole nother level.
So let's talk about some of the theories. So people theorize that Nexilist, Gimli, and their bizarre worlds were a front for a satanic cult. But according to users on the Worlds Online subreddit, Nexilist was simply a troll, and Gimbli's worlds are simply just relics of an older form of social media that didn't really properly take and didn't take off. Some think that the cult of Saturn and their activities online were hoaxes run by trolls, that they then called themselves a cult, while there was never really a cult at all in this MMO.
Oh, I completely agree. That could have just been them trolling the entire time.
And it kind of helps answers your question, which was, what were they doing? Well, maybe they were just trolling.
Yeah. And they were just, I mean, look, that's just, you see it nowadays, not necessarily like in this form, but I mean, people are trolling all the time in terms of
yeah.
like being good or bad, friendly or not, male, female, etc. Like the trolling has not stopped.
I mean, you and I, we talk about board game nights, we'll troll each other. We'll troll one another in our friend group. And so who's to say that this didn't start like that and then just pick up a life of its own because the internet just has that magic touch.
It does.
Again, always for better or worse. It could go totally different ways. But part of this hoax theory is essentially that, this could have been a group of friends hanging out, talking about the occult, talking about supernatural, all with just very humble beginnings, just shared beliefs and things. And then maybe they started hazing people, or maybe they started picking up practices that took off. And this just sent some very incredibly mixed signals to the broader internet that then began looking a little deeper, too deep.
Ripple effect.
Exactly. So who knows? But regardless, there were cults that worshipped Saturn in Roman mythology, but they're the ones that practiced actual sacrificial rituals. And so I don't think that there's any connection between this modern cult of Saturn and the ancient Roman cults of Saturn. I don't think it's a modern take, but I did want to address that here with the hoax section.
It also seemed like this cult hasn't really done much aside from hanging out.
Yeah.
Not that, I guess most cults' activities are public, but it's more so, hey, we hang out.
We hang out? Come hang out.
Yeah.
Nah.
Nah, I'm good.
But let's talk about the next theory, because many who have researched the cult of Saturn, including Tara, whose blog was in that 5 gigabyte data dump, they believe that this was a front to promote Frank's magazine, The False Prophet, right? The False Prophet was the name of that website. So maybe all of this was a very avant-garde way to promote your magazine. In fact, in the 5 gigabyte file that we mentioned, Richard, the man who helped Tara research, found screenshots relating to the origin of the cult. In the screenshot, an individual talks about the London Antichrist urban legend and tells people that you can contact an Illuminati agent or this Antichrist figure by the name of Frank at the email address falseprophet@live.com.au. It is generally believed that this is the same Frank as Frank Webster, and so immediately we start to throw away the idea of a deeper actual cult and more throw up the facade of the appearance of a cult.
Yeah.
Essentially someone who's just intentionally trying to go viral. The same individual said that he found an email associated with 2 different jobs with the subject line, "Idle hands wanted for mysterious job," on an English job search website called Mandy.com.
Look, look, in the
hey, I'm
topic,
looking for some idle hands.
Look, on the topic of this episode, sure, you think evil, but my mind went, that's sexual. That's sexual, man. Someone's looking for a job.
Oh, man. Someone's trying to get hands.
Some idle, buttery, smooth hands.
Hey, I'm looking for the supplest hands. Freshly trimmed nails, don't ask. So the jobs that were listed only had vague descriptions, which don't help what you're kind of after.
Oh, God. Here we go.
But the descriptions, they describe a new magazine called The False Prophet that was opening, and they were looking for creative people. People who were recruited for this job reported strange experiences, and this is where we really start to throw ourselves back into the pool of cult activity. Now, it is worth mentioning that the truth of these London job recruiting details and experiences are up for question, but some of these weird shared experiences are as follows, and I'm going to outline some of the many. Applicants were allegedly put through unorthodox methods of recruitment. Some received cryptic messages that shared their responses with yet other applicants. Applicants were put in direct contact with other applicants without actually knowing who they were or who their recruiter was. Some people were asked to write reviews about the workings and writings of other applicants. And then it started to get really, I'm just going to summarize some of these things. Eventually, some of the tasks started having applicants go after each other. They were trying to have each other attack one another psychologically to see if they could prove themselves, whatever that meant. So they would say, here's the information behind this person. Go torment them by writing reviews on their writing. Go torment them psychologically by calling them.
How do you torment someone psychologically? But if you're handed like a dossier with, I don't know, details about them, then sure.
Yeah. They were given some information and told to, quote, destroy the other applicant psychologically in order to get the job. So it really starts to get hairy. This doesn't sound like some ARG. This does sound like potential cult behavior. Or they're just looking for some very specific style of people with a lack of remorse or sympathy. Some people were actually called to physical interviews at very abnormal hours, and when they would go, no one would show up. And when they would be there, they would see cryptic symbols that would be left for them to see. Other times, people would be invited to buildings on Old Street, is what I have here, for interviews. Afterward, they would be locked in the building with the lights turned off.
Oh, hell
And then
no.
they would be messed with psychologically. So this is wild.
Okay, so now they're really messing with people.
Looking for idle hands. The devil plays with them. Come on over to Old Street. Step inside this rusty old building. Hope you got your tetanus shot. Bam! Lights off.
Those
Gorilla
hands are
radio.
Lotioned, buttered up.
Dang.
Go ahead
And they're like,
reach
hey, I
under.
got these soft hands and no lights. What's going on? Where
Dude,
am
could
I?
you imagine if you thought it was a sexual thing? You're like,
I brought my tarp.
I mean, like,
You know?
weird role play,
Fresh
but
rubber sheets.
but I'm ready to jerk you off now.
Oh, dude.
Could you just imagine? Like, right? Because it's so cryptid. Who's this thing? Who's to say that there wasn't someone going like, "This is the night where I get my hands dirty. Here
Dang.
we go," and then just
Dang.
going, "Hello? Why is someone making fun of me? I
Yeah.
don't get. I thought I was gonna
This is wild.
use these hands."
Yeah, listen, I did those little squeezy things that make your hands strong. I don't know.
Dude, I'd be like, damn, maybe we got to be more specific a little bit.
Yeah.
You start getting all these recruits going, hey.
Well, okay. The last shared experience, counter to the very humorous story you have, the last shared experience with a lot of the job applicants were that people would receive maps for parcel drop-offs. These mysterious packages that would be dropped at different locations, and they would just be given a map for these things. So yeah,
Huh.
we have a very unsettling set
Partial
of
drop-offs, like they would have an item that they need to deliver.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have the
Oh.
map of drop parcels.
That's just kind of.
a map asking people to drop parcels off at different locations.
Oh hell no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Here's
that's
a ticking box and here's a map.
right.
You got 30 minutes.
This box is ticking. That box is dripping blood. Heck,
And
go
this
ahead
one,
and deliver it.
Stinky.
You know, yeah.
But those investigating these mysterious job postings seem to connect the hiring process with the movie Donnie Darko,
Oh.
a movie that I used to love. I watched it so many times. Very interesting movie. Despite the fact I've watched it more than 10 times and I used to love it so much, I can barely remember it now.
All around me are
That's definitely in it.
familiar
But
faces.
what's interesting is when it comes to Donnie Darko, Frank was the name of the character, not Jake Gyllenhaal's character. That's Donnie. Frank was the rabbit that would show up periodically and guide Donnie around, right? It's very mysterious. And also, that character, that rabbit character, is the same look as an
Yeah,
exilist character in that game. So it almost seems like they were inspired by this movie,
These-
which then
these-
draws into question,
These cults in their
what's this
movies.
all about?
You know what I mean?
right? They're like, oh, Matrix and Donnie Darko were onto something. Like, or fiction.
I guess if I was to say I was in a cult and it's based on a movie, it'd be a cult that's based around the Fast and Furious series. You know,
Hmm.
Han, my boy.
I mean, it's got a good core message because there's
It does.
nothing more important than family.
That's how they get you.
And I mean,
And let me tell you, I got.
I think we're all getting got.
Yeah.
This is the
You know what I
silent
mean?
killer here.
I'm like, how can I say no to family?
Right.
How can I
crack
come
open a cold
on.
one with the boys and you're,
Come
and you're
on,
welcoming,
cold
you're
one
welcoming
with the boys
family?
and barbecuing. Are you kidding me, man?
You seen that car's
God.
body kit too? Like, come on, there's every
How can
reason
I
in the
no-
world.
How can I say no to a hug from Dominic Toretto?
But, you know, a lot of people looked at the Donnie Darko website around that time, and it showed a message that said, to get to the level 3, you must find the book of the key and lock. And so, you know, there's a lot of language lifted from the Donnie Darko website and movie itself that start to draw into question, like, okay, is this actual cult inspired by this pop culture media that speaks to them? Or, once again, are they just activating marketing material with the sake of promoting whatever their core business is, whether it's a magazine or just getting attention? And again, maybe this just never hit a size with which we finally saw the final product, right? And maybe it just everything they tried petered out. So we may never know. But coming back to the followers and their very strange tasks, some of those tasks involved writing articles and creating art that would be featured in the false prophet. Essentially saying, hey, build out my magazine. Maybe some of this included an ARG for the sake of gaining interest online and in the world, but all the strange tasks that Richard found were possible ways to build interest and hype around this cult, which would lead people back to the magazine, and that's where the core of this theory lies.
What was this magazine about?
I don't really know what it was about. The false prophet. It just seemed like
sitting here, I was like, damn, man, Frank really trying to pimp his magazine? Wait,
that
what is this magazine about?
That is a wrinkle in the theory, because like if the magazine doesn't have a clear motivation, if they're not monetizing or writing about anything,
right.
If it's just a bunch of random articles and art, that's what are you really building to?
Exactly.
So with that said, let's dive into the third theory. That it's possible that this entire concept of cults and an MMO, this cult of Saturn, these individuals within the game, all of it was simply a part of a massive, expansive ARG. As with most mysteries online, ARGs tend to be one of the popular answers, but let's talk about why. There are some more pieces of information here. So the 5 gigabyte file containing all the contents relating to the group may have all been fabricated or at least collected in a way to make it seem like the cult really did exist. It could answer why there are some loose-ended questions here that we can't chase down because maybe some of this just simply didn't exist. Ultimately, it's unknown who created the file, why they created the file, and with regards to Tara and Richard's research, all of it is in Imgur links with their commentary and, quote, evidence all in one picture, which basically means their evidence seems flimsy at best, right? If it's just a bunch of screenshots, Imgur is just an image hosting website. So yeah, you could have screenshotted evidence, or it could just be an easy way to fabricate stuff. Their commentary is written almost like they're saying it out loud, making them seem like characters, right? So we have a screenshot, for example, of Tara and Richard talking to one another, and it's just red and blue text on a black background, almost like a Linux system or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, like old internet.
Terra Virtual Reality Worlds. Virtual reality is the gate of dreams. The ghost in the machine, it points. The silver key to the gate of dreams. It's all connected. The lone gunman was right. Life is just an ARG. It's saying it's an ARG. Huh.
Yeah.
But Richard, seriously, Tara, get some sleep. You're starting to sound like a crazy person saying life is just a game and you can open up portals. Anyway, that's it. Here are the Zener artwork images created by COS. Huh.
Anyway, you're starting to sound a little wild of the mind there.
You're getting
anyway,
a little weird
here's some
there.
more stuff.
Get some sleep. Anyways, here's what you wanted. Bye.
Yeah, they're talking about ARGs. You know, they're really starting to like blend the reality with this cult, with this game. It's this is where it all falls over itself. And this, I mean, that to me is one of the like signals of an ARG. When things start to get really confusing and you start to ask real questions like why this or why that, and then you come back to a zero answer. Oftentimes it's a buried answer because there is no answer because it's an ARG.
Yeah. It's like, how do you find the answer that doesn't exist?
Yeah. So with regards to this theory that it's simply an ARG, the story about the cult starting outside of the internet may only exist to make this ARG feel more real, to make this whole story feel more authentic. And so that would answer, again, why we don't know a lot of things. When it comes to, again, the 5 gigabyte file, it also contains keys which contained puzzles and riddles. These were often given to members of the cult as tasks, each one harder than the last, with some still unsolved. I believe the puzzles and riddles and all of that could probably be a bonus episode in and of itself, just kind of dissecting some of those. I'm going to read one at random here. Dragonlance alludes to how to achieve apotheosis and how the phases of the moon influence magic.
Oh, that's the Sorcerer's Stone.
Harry Potter. Those who wanted the stone but not to use it could find it. Nicholas Flamel was, he was in a hard way that way. I mean, he definitely needed it. So if he wanted to find it, I'm sorry.
Right.
He's out of luck. Anyway, it's unknown if the Book of Lock and Key even exists, and if we are talking about an ARG, it very likely doesn't. The Cult of Saturn may have simply made it up in order to garner interest in the cults, and I think The fact that they use the movie Donnie Darko, we have lines from The Matrix, also continue to build the narrative of this being contrived.
True, yeah.
Especially with regards to, like I mentioned, Nixilus' avatar very much resembling the rabbit from Donnie Darko, also being the character named Frank. It all stands to reason. Also, we talked about a user named Clay on 4chan. Well, in one of the posts on the X board of 4chan in January of 2017, Clay, who previously researched the cult of Saturn, wrote this, quote, "Close to December 21st of 2012, Frank made a site, falseprophethq.com. It was like an ARG sort of thing with cryptic pages, red herrings, and passwords that would allow you to progress through the various levels. There was also a countdown to December 21st of 2012. Sometimes you would be redirected to a video which gave clues to the passwords. A lot of it was about occult stuff like sigils, Saturn worship, and aliens." Clay also believes that the Book of Lock and Key is probably made up, and this was several years after their initial post. This was somebody who kind of really dug in.
I like how you also managed to sneak in aliens.
Well,
Always sneaking in.
always sneaking in, you know? But yeah, I mean, it stands to reason that aliens would be there, as well as the occult, if, you know, any good story has a foothold in reality. And if the story of this kind of cult, worlds.com thing, whatever, is stemmed from reality, well, then the authors were very interested in the supernatural.
Yeah.
That was very much a part of it. So it is nice that the ARG story or theory does wrap in the supernatural piece, because that kind of...
This just felt like a little piece of the core.
Yeah.
Right.
This feels like as well-rounded as you can be as a theory with regards to all this stuff. I think ARG does make a lot of sense.
It just seems like what it is, because there was just like a lot of buildup and then nothing happened, right?
Right.
And a lot of times the ARG is like all this buildup mystery, and it's like, well, thanks for playing.
Right. Like, oh man, and this one doesn't even say thanks for playing. This one just kind of petered out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it leaves you with nothing but questions. I mean, for example, like, okay, well, if this is an ARG, what about Nixilus? What was he up to? Yeah, he might have looked like Donnie Darko's rabbit character, but what was this all about? What was he doing? Because clearly there was a person behind that. Was that one of the cult's ARG authors, or was this a real person? Well, this person, it depends how you want to subscribe to this story. They could have been somebody in the cult of Saturn, ushering people in, using worlds.com as a way to bring them in. Or this whole ARG or cult of Saturn reality, whatever it was, whatever you subscribe to, could have existed to the side, and that this Nixilus person was on worlds.com and just happened to pick up random popularity. And so they leaned into it. Like that they were never a part of it. They just got kind of
wrapped up
mixed in it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But at the end of the day, many others feel that the real-life aspects of the cult of Saturn researched by Tara and Richard make it much more likely to be a real cult that just used ARG tactics in order to recruit members. That is...
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point, because
it did seem like you said earlier, kind of like bleeding edge, right?
Mhm.
Where they were like going into these virtual rooms and everything like that. But who's to say they didn't see that and go, hey, we could use that to our benefit?
absolutely. It seemed at some point in time, if this was a real cult, that they sat there and asked themselves, how can we better do this? Let's go tag the streets. Let's go to Occupy in London. Let's go online. Let's go to the extent of doing an ARG. Let's have this magazine. They really sprawled out, and so they have a very wide and confusing footprint, and then they very quickly petered out. And that's what really stokes the intrigue of this mystery. But yeah, that's the conclusion, baby. That's where we're at. How do you feel? Where does your mind, after all this information, where do you land?
I land that this is like, I don't know, that this is an ARG. I feel like this is like, I think that this is just kind of just like, hey, you know, let's create this kind of like cultish type thing, and from there they just kind of ran with it and it petered out.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like, because there was a lot of build up. There were a lot of like tangible things, but at the end of the day, like once things really started going, it went from like, here's the first level, and you really went like all the way up to the door to level 2.
Mm-hmm.
Never really happened, right? The door always just seemed like it was just locked,
right?
And we never went past it. But we got up on it. We were buttery hands all over it and everything,
Yeah,
but
silky
like
smooth baby hands.
Never opened it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. ARG definitely checks a lot of boxes, and the most important one for me is just like, oh, it's a relief. It's just an ARG. you know?
Right, exactly.
But part of me also thinks that I don't know. I could go a lot of different ways. Suffice to say, I could see the cult piece being very related, but also real. I don't know if the cult inspired the ARG for recruitment or if it's reverse, because we have talked about ARGs in the past that had people truly believe what was being laid down. Junko Junsui, right, was a great example of that, where people believed what was going on. We discussed that in a much older episode. But, if people started to believe that this cult existed by way of the ARG, maybe they spoke it into reality, and some people created it and made it a thing.
True. I mean, maybe that's what's his name? The Nexilist? What is?
Nexilist, yeah.
Yeah, Nexilist.
Or Nexialist. It's either way.
Maybe that's what he is, right?
Could be.
Or he just kind of got wind of it and was like, oh, I'm going to join.
He's like, wait, people are talking about me?
Yeah.
I was just playing Puzzle Pirates and I became an enigma.
Exactly. But I don't know, man. Cults are scary, dude. But
yeah.
I mean, you'll see Barry next week, so don't worry about it.
Maybe he was like, I'm Nexilist, but then he was like, send audio messages like, if you're an alien, please do not lie.
What if you came over and I was like, oh, I'm showing my friend Barry, but Barry was an owl. And then you went over to Christian, you're like, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Fredo has an owl.
I would take a photo of it because he would call me out and be like, no. No, he doesn't.
No, but what if?
Like, I'm not the madman. He brought the owl to date night.
But what if Christian was like, that's crazy. I just got one last week too.
An owl?
I would be like, where's my Hogwarts letter, dude? Why are we all getting owls? I'm not sending you a physical mail via owl, ever. I don't care what the next generation wants to do. That's where that's where I become the boomer or the millennial.
I'm not training no owl.
I'm not training an owl.
I don't damn messages.
Listen, mice might be rodents, but they're not food. Not to me. I'm not feeding a live mouse to a living bird.
Oh, it's true.
I'm also not letting that evil in. I've seen the movie with the vampire.
Evil.
You gotta let the right ones in.
Not letting that evil in.
But hey, anyway, I want to shout out again to Nexpo. If you want to check them out on YouTube, this is not sponsored in any way. This is just my own personal shout out. I really enjoy what he makes. Very similar topics as to what we cover. Do it in a completely different way. And I just wanted to, give them a shout out because they put in some really good work. But other than that, Task Force, thank you so much for listening. Fredo, see you right back here next Monday for yet another mystery.
All around me are the squonky things.
Are you a fan of video games, social deception, and reality shows? Introducing Survive Block Island, a reality competition show set in the world of Minecraft. I'm Trevor Collins, and I'll be hosting 12 of the greatest minds in video game entertainment as they compete in perilous challenges designed to test their skills and friendships, and maybe their internet connections. Competitors will face challenges and eliminations. Winners will be granted safety, while weaker links will be voted off one by one. Ultimately, only one person will survive Block Island. Watch Survive Block Island, available now by going to bit.ly/surviveblockisland.
This is a Rooster Teeth production.
Everyone knows the stories of famous cryptids like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and the Mothman. But there exists an entire world of lesser-known, more bizarre cryptids as well. Today we take a look at some of those as we learn about 3 obscure cryptids. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force! It's another Mystery Monday. Welcome back to Red Web. I'm Trevor Collins. With me, Alfredo Diaz. You ready to talk about some cryptids?
I feel like these are going to be just like comic book characters that no one ever talks or cares about, and these are like this is the bottom trash.
Right, like the scrapings.
Dude.
Bottom of the barrel, V1. Like
we had like a tier list. It'd be like F tier.
Right, F tier superheroes right here.
Right.
What happened was they had their first edition comics come out. No one bought them, so they got burned.
No one bought them. No one cared, and here they are as cryptids now.
Yeah. Oh, and I did forget to say the reason why we're doing this 3 obscure cryptids is because we finally launched the cryptid pin set.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Store.roosterteeth.com. Want to get your pins on? I know a lot of you like to collect them out there. But yeah, I'm really excited to finally have these in the store. A long time coming. They're very, very cool.
Pick them up. They're going to get scooped up fast.
Yes.
I've never said that on this show. These will most likely get scooped up right away.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if we release a series 2 and it's these cryptids, we have gone too far. Someone stop us. We have too much power.
Man. The cryptids we're going to talk about.
Ugly cryptids.
Oh, they're the best. Oh, yes. All right, write that down, Christian.
You got it.
So we have 3 relatively obscure cryptids. One is a suggestion from myself, so I know about that one. But I wanted to go into this episode with the notes on the other 2, having been much more unfamiliar with them, so I could experience these cryptids with you. Because Jillian, our researcher, this first cryptid's called Squonk.
No way, bro.
It's Squonk. And it is her favorite cryptid of all time.
Jillian loves Squonk.
Wait,
He's the number
I had
one
no
Squonk.
idea there was such Squonk fans
so
out there.
There's this like trash tier cryptid
Mm-hmm.
named Squonk.
Yeah, all
and
right.
Jillian is like obsessed with Squonk.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You're hitting me with a lot right now.
Right. There's a lot
You
to
throw a lot at me
digest.
with this show. This is a lot to digest.
But this episode's
What is
only
this,
going to
some
be
small, tiny mythical creature.
Right. Well,
Just
you're
wait
about to
till
have a
you
7-course meal
Yeah.
on Squonk, dude. This is gonna
Okay.
get. There's a lot.
Who the hell is Squonk? What? Like, where does he live?
All right.
What the hell does Squonk
You know what?
do?
We did this in our Jersey Devil episode. I let
Okay.
you describe the Jersey Devil as you
Right.
saw in your head. I think I want to do that here with Squonk. Before we get into the details, where does he live? What does he look like? What's he up to you?
So, Squonk is half mouse, half centaur, but he's probably like
Which a centaur, by the way, is half man, half horse.
yeah.
So we're getting weird with the fractions
so
now. Okay,
don't worry about it. That's why he's
Oh, I'm not
a
worried.
trash tier cryptid.
Which
And
part of the
he's-
centaur did he get?
He's like 6 inches tall,
Mhm.
and he's notorious for getting into your cookie cabinets.
Oh, no. Cookie cabinets?
Yeah.
This man's got a lot of cookies, Christian.
Yeah. If anyone has a cabinet full of cookies, he's after them. Heaven forbid you throw
know
that cookie
what?
somewhere else.
Oh, that's why you don't hear about cookie cabinets much anymore. And that's because our
No,
great,
he's
great
cleaned them out.
ancestors, as wise as they were,
Right.
did away with those.
They were getting cleaned out.
right.
They never knew why,
Too many
how,
squonks.
where. There's more than one squonk.
Well,
Well, I guess with a mommy squonk and a daddy squonk get together.
a family of squonks. What would you call like a batch of squonks?
A batch of squonks?
Yeah.
Scraps.
Okay.
Just a moving herd of scraps.
Yeah. All right. Well, as you probably already could tell, many of our episodes here on Red Web dive into the paranormal, the mysteries, unsolved mysteries on the internet, true crime. We always hit those like.
I just really want you to sell me on this cryptid.
Oh, I'll sell you on it, but we always hit those like sinister notes, right? We like to get atmospheric. This one is definitely going to be a more lighthearted.
Oh, okay. I was about to
episode.
be like this squonk.
If you couldn't tell
eat,
at the
like,
top here,
like I don't know, blood vessels or
Well-
some weird random thing.
sucking them dry. That's how.
Dude,
Remember the
gets into
mummy?
your system, and yeah.
That might be the most obscure quote I use all the time.
I used to.
And I couldn't even find a YouTube
I'm
clip of
scared
it.
of beetles because of the scared beetle
Ugh.
scene. It's crawling under your skin.
That's
that,
what Squonk
that
does.
CG does not hold up.
Well.
Well,
All right.
Your opinion.
Let's get into Squonk. Again, this first cryptid and the third cryptid we're going to talk about are the ones I don't know much about. And so I'm just as much along for the ride as you are. I'm
Okay.
very excited. So squonks are said to roam free in the hemlock forests of Pennsylvania. These are also essentially the wetlands in northern parts of Pennsylvania. My favorite fact, they are called, quote, the homeliest animals in the
I
world.
thought you were gonna say the homeless.
No.
The homeless animals.
No.
I'm like, oh, poor squonks.
Homely being modest of appearance. In fact, it is said that squonks know that they are ugly.
This is okay. You making this stuff up?
This is all
How
information
far-
from the most passionate squonk
How
stand
far
I
are
know.
we? How far are we? Is this episode away from
April 1st?
April 1st?
Christian,
I mean,
you want to break it to him?
Not far enough. Do I want to break it to him?
Yeah.
Hey, nothing to break.
We're batch recording.
10 intangible as our own, impossible to see yet unavoidable to sense. A world enveloped by a seemingly unending ocean of forests. Buried deep in that forest, tucked away neatly within a blanket of twilight, lies a quaint little cabin. And in that cabin
is a bunch of guys who's a bunch of bullshitter.
Welcome to the Sleepy Cabin Podcast, aka Sleepycast. Okay, so this is the Sleepy Cabin Podcast, the first episode-ish. We have a more valid podcast planned for the future, but this time around, we're just going to sit here and bullshit for like an hour and...
Test the waters.
Test the waters, as it were.
That's right.
Already fucking up here. Tonight is me talking Stamper, Johnny Utah Jeff, and Psychic Faggot.
Hello.
Psychic Pebble.
Yeah.
Zach.
AKA Jewy Jewerson.
Yes, give me more.
Okay.
So,
last night we asked Corey.
Yeah, Spaz Kid.
how he would solve the crisis in Iraq.
And I said he could be any superhero he wanted, and he got greedy. That was unacceptable. He wanted to be two superheroes
Put together.
So what was it? He wanted to be the Flash, initially the Flash, and
The Hulk.
he wanted to be something before the Hulk. Something
He wanted to be the girl that...
Oh yeah, he wanted to be
Jubilee or whatever you said,
it wasn't
right?
Jubilee. Yeah, it was the other girl. Not Mystique. Wait.
The one that can walk through walls?
No, it was the one that
the
touches
one with the
people.
gray hair. The one.
Storm.
No, not the one that's like dating Iceman. Rogue. Yes.
Oh, is it Rogue? Yeah, he wanted to be
Yeah, he
Rogue.
wanted to be the Flash and Rogue, and I'm like,
to
why?
take out Muslim extremists.
Flash isn't an X-Men. Oh,
And then he changed it.
Yeah.
And he changed it so he would be the Hulk. And his solution to get rid of these extremists who were beheading children was to go to Iraq and pound the ground, and they'd come up from their holes. And he'd be the Flash and go and punch around the sky.
He hit the ground so hard they'd fly up in the air, everybody. And then with Flash powers, he would run to them really fast and then punch them as the Hulk.
But he didn't explain how he would...
I thought he said two superheroes. Where does the Hulk come in now?
He changed it. He changed it from...
Yeah, he changed it. He changed his answer.
He could just be the Hulk. The Hulk jumps really high.
And he can't be killed, pretty much.
He was telling me in the car that the Hulk can only be killed by a black hole. I don't know if that's
By a
true.
black hole?
Yeah.
It sounds like a lie.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I'm not...
He was telling me how much he hated the Hulk and Superman because they're so powerful.
Oh, because they're unfairly powerful?
He said Superman is stupid because he can only be killed by a supernova.
No, he can't.
I don't even know where these answers are coming from.
I think those both feel like a lie to me. Couldn't someone just grab
Who
Superman
knows?
and drag him into a supernova?
Yeah, I don't know where you're supposed to find a black hole. Is that really what...
He knows about kryptonite, right? You could walk up to Superman
Fuck,
with a
put that
pocket
in
full of
space.
kryptonite and be like, he'd just crumple.
According to Corey, Superman cannot die by kryptonite. It just puts
He
him to
can.
sleep. It just puts him to sleep.
Oh, it just knocks
Makes him
sleep.
tired. It's like
Yeah.
NyQuil for Superman.
Yeah.
Rocks and NyQuil. What's a supernova again?
It's like when a star explodes.
Yeah.
Oh, so we'd all die.
If we got hit by a supernova, we'd all be fucking dead.
He basically said, yeah, it has to blow up the Earth too, and then it will kill Superman.
So the only way to kill Superman is by killing everybody on Earth, everything on Earth.
Yes.
But
Okay.
he flies around through space. If the Earth blew up, he would fly
I was
around
also
through
asking
space some more.
if he went into the center of the sun, could he do that? Could he fly into the sun?
Superman?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I mean, he's pretty much human, right? It's not. I've seen him go into space before. Like, it's not like he's breathing up there or anything.
No.
Or maybe he is.
He's not. He can't breathe. There's no oxygen.
You never see the impact that has. Like, can you suffocate Superman?
You can't choke him with your hands.
No, I mean suffocate him. Like, just like tape his mouth and nose shut.
Do his.
No, because he opened his mouth and ripped the tape off.
So why does he have lungs?
Oh my God, could you just
Does he have lungs if he doesn't need air?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe his lungs run something different.
like super air
Yeah,
particles?
super air.
that
Maybe
we
it's
don't
like self-circulating. Maybe it's like an internal system.
He produces he talks. He
he's-
produces sound through his mouth, so he's using air
He definitely can't
against
talk
his
in
vocal
space.
cords. So he has them. He was born with.
Maybe his breath is he can retain his oxygen in his lungs for a long time.
Somehow his internals run
What if he
on
holds his
oxygen.
breath when he goes into space?
Oh, and he can only be out there for a
Yeah,
minute.
he goes up for like 5 minutes and he starts turning blue.
And he's
like,
got like iron lungs, like oil drums that
Yeah.
can't crumple in space.
No, yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it ever be scary if I always thought when I was in space, if you fly too far away from Earth, you just get lost and you can't come back.
What if he has a GPS?
Oh, maybe.
What? You can't find it. There's no GPS that says
No.
Earth over there.
No, but it's like, what if he's like a pigeon that has that in his head? You know what I mean? Like he just knows where Earth is.
What if he just wants to go to Mars and then he can't really? Well, then again, he has supervision. So
Yeah, how long does it take to get to Mars again? With like our best, like 30 years or something?
No, to Mars it's like 3 months. 2 years actually. I think the fastest craft we have now, the fastest propulsion would be like 3 months.
If you're going the speed. Like
if you're going the fastest speed consistently.
It's like
but I think
7 days
right now
to
it takes like a year or two.
Oh, because it's like 15 minutes to, or 15 years to Europa, right?
Yeah, no, it's
That's a hike.
Yeah, well, we launched that spacecraft in like 2000. We launched the spacecraft in like 2005, and it's supposed to get to Pluto like next year.
That's fucking amazing. They actually know how to get there.
Yeah.
And probably get back. And
They
scientists
could.
are like, oh, it's a really simple theory. You just boomerang it around a couple of planets and then throw it back
if you fuck
towards
up
Earth.
once, you fly to like Saturn, break up.
You should pay attention to math class.
You know, my teachers would always say like, well, you can only send the spacecraft out so far because the signal stops. I said, why don't you say like 5 and they, and there's
Like
one
a
right here,
daisy
one right here.
chain?
Yeah, a chain of spacecraft.
Oh, so they communicate with each other?
Yeah, so
and
the
last
one,
guy?
the one way out there communicates.
Well,
with
aren't
them.
you smart?
Yeah, why don't you reach in your back pocket and give NASA the $90 billion that's
never
going to
gonna-
require?
Well, somebody did know I could do it. Well, somebody
like-
piggy bank.
It's like I know. It's like instead of sending $1 billion ship, let's send 5.
Well, then you could get signals out, and then you could see empty space.
Man, the public wouldn't like that if NASA got up and they were like, okay, guys, hear us out because this is going to sound a little lofty now.
But sell everything you have so we can put 5 spacecraft in space.
What if they were really spoiled like children and everyone was like, no, and then NASA was like, do you want to go to space or not? Do you want to explore
We
brave
like to go right now or never.
Zach, would you prefer to have a cyanide? Would you go up to space with a cyanide capsule?
Yeah. Just in case something went wrong and I had to kill myself
Yeah.
so I could... Maybe, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to die in space. I don't think anyone has yet.
What if you went up into space with Corey, but Corey lost his, and then he's asking for yours?
I'd fucking open the thing and push him out.
Is it, 2 questions, is it true that no one's died in space yet? Has movies just
pretty sure.
tainted my mind?
Pretty sure no one's died in space. There was a Russian astronaut who was whose suit fucking inflated too big and he was freaking out because he couldn't get back in the door.
Are you talking about like poetically dying in space, like sitting on the surface of the moon crying, or like exploding?
No, I don't think anyone's died.
A Russian burnt up on the way back down.
Yeah, no one's died in space though. People
As far as
died. I think
we
people have Columbia and what was the other big one?
Challenger.
Challenger and Columbia. Yeah, they both fucking burnt up in the atmosphere.
I always keep forgetting about Columbia.
Challenger didn't get too high.
I remember when that happened. There was fucking pieces raining down on Texas, and people were finding heads and shit.
How many people died in there?
Probably a dozen.
I think the Challenger one was worse because there was.
No, that one was 27 or something. It was big.
Way more people were watching that one because there was a teacher.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
there was
big
that
TV
school
event.
teacher in there.
Yeah.
Oh, and second, isn't there an easier way to like suicide than cyanide? Doesn't it fucking like?
Yeah, bullets to the brain would be a little bit faster. than taking a dirty
You
pill
don't
and feeling
want to
sick.
sit there choking with a foam pouring out of your mouth.
No,
for a minute.
pretty sure, yeah.
I heard
A big
it says-
fat bullet to your brain would do it a lot faster.
That's not a very dignified way to go.
The rumor is that Hitler did both. He took the pill and then just for safe measure blew his head off.
Well, he's a smart man.
Yeah.
But I heard
what do you think the most suicide you could do at once would be? Like hang yourself and shoot yourself and take a cyanide pill and fall off a building?
I think about that way too much. But no, but
How many suicides at once just to make sure you can...
I heard that cyanide is fucking horrible. Like
Well, it
it's
fucking burns you, like your insides, right?
yeah, you swallow that shit and it's like one of the worst ways to go.
Apparently pretty foolproof.
Don't think-
Yeah, I guess it's pretty
Yeah,
strong.
I don't think you can get your stomach pumped from that.
Look, if we got shit at vets that could ease puppies, and
Well,
people-
they do. Have you seen those videos of people like Sweden who drink this shitty water and eat chocolate and fall asleep and die? They listen to like Beethoven or whatever.
No.
to eat chocolate. What are you talking about?
There's these people. There's like these death doctors, and people like this. People decide to die, like if they have cancer or something, and they go to this place. The doctor's like, drink this dirty water, and they drink it, and then to get the taste out of it, they're allowed to eat chocolate. And they just fall asleep. And they poetically listen to whatever music and watch, say their goodbyes.
It seems like overdosing on like sleeping pills seems.
But that never. It's a really low number of people who die from that. Like only teenagers dramatically go and drink all the Advil. You know what I mean? They're not trying to kill themselves. They're trying to kill themselves.
This is a weird. This Is this an appropriate topic? We're just like giving people
Kids, if you want to kill yourself, put your head in front of a train track when the train comes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
just
no, a
lay your
train
head.
That'll fucking you're not gonna wake up with your dad crying over your body then.
Train is pretty foolproof.
Yeah, you lay. Drunk guys do it all the time. Lay on the train tracks.
With your head on firmly on the
Do
thing.
you see what it does to a penny when you put it there?
Yeah.
You'll
End up on some
be-
shitty website when some asshole takes an iPhone picture of your dead body,
Yeah.
and voila, it's done.
I'm not shooting myself in space because knowing my luck, I'll be one of those retards where the bullet passes through my
Yeah.
head and then I'm just a fucking walking mess with half my
And then you're
head
too
gone.
afraid to do it again because if you fuck up twice,
I think you should definitely lie your neck on the track. Don't jump in front of the train because then body parts fly.
yeah, no, then you're they
And,
have to
like
clean you up.
your hand will hit somebody in the head.
Yeah, just lay your neck on the rail.
Lay your neck firmly if you're listening.
And then it's like, boop, problem's
Pops
over.
off.
You don't want to horrify all these innocent people with.
Yeah, you always gotta worry about who's gonna find you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and
I guess the best thing would be like being incinerated.
You can just get on a bus and like go to Kentucky or something and do it there. And then by
Yeah.
the time your family sees you, some other poor guy that's completely unrelated to your family has already picked you up.
I think a good solution is in Japan they have like a suicide forest. They just kind of.
Oh yeah, the suicide forest.
Yeah, it's like a park. They just.
That'd be a
park-
good place for if you're a killer to go there and kill people before they can kill themselves.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Maybe they'd be more lenient on you.
You know what I mean? Like you go there and go and kill myself. It's like, no, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, I don't think they
Cut their heads
investigate
off.
people out there. They just sort of kind of go out there and hang yourself and.
I would never jump off a bridge though. It's fucking whatever. It's
I never-
artistic, but come on.
It's not artistic. I never
People,
understood-
people like to do the dramatic.
You're
tea.
essentially jumping onto concrete almost.
Yeah,
hitting
but
water
there are
at
people who've
speed.
survived it. They said the second they fucking fell off, they regretted it. Like they were like, oh,
It's not a very foolproof way of going, jumping off the bridge. Because if you hit the water, let's say worst case scenario, you break all your bones and just drown to death.
Yeah,
You'll
no,
have a
it's
lot
not-
of time to think about what you just did wrong.
especially as you fall.
Yeah.
I told you guys about my Rube Goldberg machine. I wanna put a canvas on a wall.
Oh, blow your head off.
Yeah, blow my head up against the canvas, and then somehow like have a string attached to the gun, so when it falls from my hand, it somehow does this whole thing where like it mechanically like signs my name on the canvas and then like dumps my body in the dumpster out back or something.
You know, what'd be really shitty is if you fucked up somehow. Like if you got like a little blood droplet on the canvas.
Yeah, that's a big fear. Like, what if your head stopped the bullet and it never passed
Yeah,
through?
a lot of people.
Then you just look like a jackass.
Everyone overestimates how much brains fucking kill out of the back of your head. But
Yeah, I don't want my skull fragments like tearing into the
paper
canvas.
fucking it up.
You know, what's his name? Do you remember that one guy that shot himself on TV?
Bud Dwyer.
Yeah, you remember when he just put in his head and he blew the whatever.
Yeah.
But the amount of blood that poured out of his mouth
Yeah.
and nose, if you put the canvas on the ground,
Yeah, you know what?
just hang yourself like this, and when you do it, it'll just go all over the ground.
You kind of forget. When I was a kid, I'd always imagine like your body is just filled just if you cut somebody open and just blood will pour out, but it's really like it's like blood is in a very
People got upset with me in
in its circulation system. It's very contained actually.
Oh, yeah.
You really have to like break that seal, and then it just comes fucking pouring out.
People overestimate how bad it is. People got mad at me in my clown video because they're like, "Why is the fucking hole in the lady's head like it's like a little dot at the entrance wound?"
Yeah.
It's also a clown video.
Yeah, it's a clown video.
You're so adamant that like the bullet hole is realistic in this fucking crazy clown video.
Yeah, realistically, a bullet hole in someone's forehead it'd be really small, it'd be really gross, and at the entrance point, all the bone around it would be shattered, so it'd be like the
it's all
soft spot
fragmented.
on the baby's head that you push for fun.
What do you think would happen if you shot a baby in the head? Would it be different?
If you shot a baby in the head, this little thing would probably just explode everywhere.
You think the baby's head would explode?
I don't know. Let's try. Let's go find a baby and just shoot it in the
Probably
face.
wouldn't crack. It would just be like bloop.
No, it'd be like shooting like an old peach or something.
Yeah, it'd be like shooting a Jello mold. It'd like go and it's like bloop bloop.
It's like a little piece might fly out the back, but it would like undulate. It'd be like bloop 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 bloop, and just go back to normal.
Like a waterbed.
It would like reseal itself, and the parents would be like, "What happened?"
It reseal itself?
Just lying there turning purple, and they don't know what killed it. This has got dark fast.
I
We
know.
were talking about space like 5 minutes ago.
You're talking about fucking
Superman.
Superman.
Yeah.
Shooting baby's head and having it reformed. The horrified parents find it. Jeff, would you kill a baby? What would push you to kill a baby, Jeff?
Oh, Jesus.
If it didn't shut the fuck up.
Would you kill baby Stamper?
God, no, Zach. That's a cruel...
I'm really trying to think of a reason. There's got to be some reason out there.
What if a guy handed you a baby and said, kill this baby?
Or I'm going to kill your whole family.
Or I'm going to kill you, Jeff. I'd just be like...
He said
pop,
fucking
pop.
strangle the life out of it and look at its eyes. You have to look deep in its soul when you kill it.
If I had to choose between myself and a baby, I think I could just...
Put your hand over its face, his little tiny hand.
Yeah.
What if it said Dada and you figured it out, Jeff? What if it called you Daddy?
Then I'd be like, why am I holding a doll from the 80s?
A creepy, cliche 80s character.
Actually, none of those dolls ever said
It's
Dada.
offensive.
What did they say?
They say Mama.
Feed me. Oh, yeah.
I'd call it
Bite me.
They piss their little fake pee
piss.
out and go, uh-oh.
What a pointless fucking doll.
Did you ever own a Cabbage Patch Kid?
No, I own the troll dolls, though.
I did. I owned a Cabbage Patch Kid, I think.
Yeah.
I think I got it out of a fucking, like a, either just like, you know, like when you're a kid and then you have like a cousin that just has a box of fucking toys or something and you somehow end up with a lot of toys that aren't yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those creepy fucking things. Cabbage Patch Kids are nothing more than like garbage pail kids without the trash all over them. It's essentially what they are.
I think the Garbage Pail Kids came second.
Yeah.
So the garbage pail kids are just Cabbage Patch Kids with dirt all over them.
Yeah.
I just mean like the...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just the creepy factor. Cabbage Patch Kids are
What was the
fucking
worst
creepy.
trend either of you were ever a part of? Like, what was the worst fad that you're ashamed of that you bought into?
Jesus.
I wouldn't say that any that I was ashamed of.
Popples.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah,
What's a popple?
I didn't mind Popples though.
Popples were cool.
They're just like they were almost like the Pokemon back in the day, where except you could fold them inside out and they turn into balls. They're actually pretty cool. Actually, you should bring those.
So you have this like stuffed ball, and it looks exactly like a soccer ball. It's got a seam on the side of it, and if you pull it apart, fold it outwards, like flip it inside out, it's like a creature.
Are they all circular shaped though?
No, I don't think so. I think they were just like different ball shapes. I think there's like a football one and stuff like that.
I mean,
Sounds pretty
weren't
cool actually.
It was a smart idea.
Yeah, when you unfolded them. I never liked Teddy Ruxpin though. That thing creeped me out.
If you think about it, Popples were a really good idea. It's like a unisex toy. It's like
a Transformer almost, where it's two different.
Yes.
It's actually a really good idea. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Teddy Ruxpin. I remember that. Teddy Ruxpin. That was the one where you could put like the tape in the back of it, right? And he would read you stories and shit.
He'd definitely talk. I can't remember what he'd say.
There used to be a teddy bear that had like a tape deck built into the back of it. And
I do remember that. Yeah, you could buy different tapes.
Yeah, and then it'd be like...
It would read to you, basically?
Yeah.
Was it did the voice match the teddy bear?
Like fairy tales and shit. No, I think you just like... It was like a glorified tape player.
But yeah, you bought the tape. The tapes were pre-recorded.
And it would just read you a bedtime story about...
Yeah, it's like a little arms, and I think it's like his mouth might like move up and down as the tape plays, you know.
It's actually kind of creepy to imagine that like the parents are in the living room and the kid is in the bedroom with like a mechanical bear that's reading him stories.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hollow and sad when you think about it.
Have you ever heard that stupid story of... It's one of those horror stories of, the hook on it's one of those where it's like this
and then
guy,
the killer was in the house.
Yeah, but it's like this guy gives a little stuffed teddy bear to a kid and puts a radio inside of it and talks to the kid, and the kid's like, the teddy bear said I should touch my vagina, mommy. And the mom gets creeped out, and the guy tries to capture the kid.
Right, because that's her son. That's why she's creeped out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zach, did you have a Tickle Me Elmo?
I don't think I did. When was that big?
Oh shit. It was like a decade ago. Maybe a decade ago.
I don't think I did. I think
like mid to late 90s, maybe.
That's probably a little bit before my time, if not right at my time.
What was the gayest toy you?
The thing I was into was Woody. I had this obsession where it was a really weird obsession because
liked Woody.
It was a little bit serial killerish because I would always get these Woody toys and cut them in pieces.
Yeah.
Because I like to see how they worked.
Yeah.
And my parents would always buy me a Woody doll, like a wooden doll or like an action figure or a stuffed toy. They cut it in pieces.
You were literally that asshole kid in Toy Story.
No, but I wasn't though because I didn't.
Oh,
like other
fucking
people's...
Sid, yeah.
I wasn't Sid.
You kind of look like him too.
I wasn't Sid. I wanted to see how they worked.
He took like baby heads and put them on like construct sleds. And...
But I didn't though. I wasn't that creative. I just cut it in pieces. I laughed and And then I got my parents to buy me new, but then I cried because
You're exactly like the kid from Toy Story. He would do that and laugh, minus the creativity that came with it.
I have something to tell you, Stamper.
Yeah.
About my identity. Guess who I really am?
Who?
I've been hiding this for years.
I thought you said about my daddy. You said about my identity.
Yeah.
Okay. Enunciate.
Are you buzzed?
You said?
No, I'm Zach.
Oh.
I tricked you for a second, though. You thought I was going to say Sid.
Do you know what I did as a kid?
Did you kill animals, Jeff, and put their heads on sticks?
Just insects. I would have insect wars. I would.
Did you ever get upset after you killed an insect? Did you ever feel bad about it?
Only when I pitted them against each other, I'd throw in like 20 ants and one huge spider into a Tupperware container, and I'd watch them fight.
It's not really a fight, though. It's more of like it's like watching the Europeans fight the Indians. Jeff.
I thought it was kind of cool. I thought the spider might have a chance, but he never. The ants always.
Oh, the ants won.
The ants were always the biggest dickheads. Yeah.
What is a spider gonna do? He's just.
I don't know. Yeah, he really couldn't
step
do anything.
on him with his hands.
Yeah, you think because he's bigger, he's like a big. What do you mean step on him with his hands? You're looking at this like a Godzilla movie. Like the scale is like little people, and he's a giant monster.
Step on
It's
him.
like a bunch of Africans with machetes versus like an elephant or something. It's like he just doesn't.
Oh, I guess that's true if you put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really nothing it could do.
That's actually painfully accurate. Whatever. Oh, so yeah, I don't remember having any embarrassing toys when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, back to that.
I had sweet toys. I had G.I. Joes. I had Ninja Turtles. I had
G.I. Joes.
I had like a big box of G.I. Joes and like that little rubber band that holds the legs and the torsos together.
You broke it.
Every now and again, like if you twist them, like the rubber bands, they'd pop. So those were like my dead soldiers, and I'd
have be fucked up on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But if you were careful, you could actually swap the legs on G.I. Joes if you wanted. There's a little hook holding them together in the middle.
Yeah, some of my G.I. Joes just had a hook in the middle there.
Did you ever take different toys from different franchises and have them interact with each other? Like, did you ever have the Ninja Turtles talk to G.I. Joe?
Most of my toys were He-Man, G.I. Joe, and I had like a Voltron.
I had the entire set of the Pirates of Darkwater action figures too, and nobody even remembers that fucking show.
I remember that show. Harry loves that show because it's like the last like high quality animation Saturday morning cartoon, and then they just went to shit after that.
Like Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Horrible shitty animation.
Yeah, I don't know.
You shouldn't bust on Animaniacs.
I was joking. I said horrible shitty animation. It's really well animated.
People love that show. Oh, okay.
I was just thinking about the weirdest G.I. Joe I had, which is Sergeant Slaughter. I never really understood why he was a G.I. Joe. He was just a wrestler that somehow made his way into G.I. Joe.
Yeah, it's a really loose acceptance for that military service.
They're letting wrestlers in to hold guns and be on the battlefield.
Yeah, like all of a sudden he was a real character in the G.I. Joe. Like no other wrestler was there.
And that was his name as a wrestler?
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter.
Do you think they put him in just because his name was Sergeant?
Maybe because he was a sergeant.
he was confirmed.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really understood that.
Maybe he was in the military first, then became a wrestler, then went back to the military.
Did you ever have any toys that you thought were like inappropriate, or that you thought were just weird and shouldn't be toys? Like my friend, I remember this very clearly. My friend had a bathtub toy he would play with that was the Titanic that would fucking break in half. I just think it's so weird that like 70 or 80 years before it was like a horrible. You think they'll have 9/11 toys?
It's a bathtub toy, so you float it around your bathtub and you crash
break it in half. But you know what I'm saying? Do you think like that's like having like a Twin Towers toy that you fucking snap in half and crumble? It's just so weird.
The Twin Towers Lego set.
Yeah, knock it down. Yeah.
Like they say, time makes things like less offensive. Like, hey, have you seen the Titanic slide?
This is real?
Yeah.
It's like an inflatable slide?
Yes. The Titanic, yes. It's like the boat it's like half sunk, and there's a slide you can take from like the top all the way down to the...
Do you think if time travelers came here, they think we were just big assholes from like 1913?
And the funniest thing was, this was not really funny, but the first time I saw the Titanic slide was like right after 9/11. It was like the same... Almost the same level of tragedy, and here kids are riding it like a fucking having a fun time.
Do you think people have September 11th slides in 50 years where you can slide out of the windows like one of the jumpers?
Maybe I don't know. Me, I guess they have to figure out a way to make two buildings into a ride somehow.
You could have little kids dressed up as cute little terrorists or businessmen.
It could just be like a trampoline that you jump on top of, and with every jump, it crunches a little bit.
That's a good idea, actually.
But
no, it's not. It's a horrible idea.
Let's patent that. Let's patent that.
Yeah, I don't know what kids are gonna think in 50 years.
Is there anybody alive from the Titanic anymore?
No, I think the last person died a couple years ago, and she was just a little baby. Because think about it this way, right? It happened in 1911.
I mean, she was a little baby.
She was a little baby on the Titanic, and they pushed her on the water, and she floated to...
My time frames are messed up. As far as I know, that happened not too long ago.
60s.
But I'm thinking of the movie. So.
The movie came out in the 90s, but even then, the lady was old as fuck in that. Remember? The main lady was really old. But that happened in 1911. So figure, so say you're 20 years old. That's a pretty good age.
Oh, 1911, really?
So say you're 20 years old. You were born in 18. Here we go. 18. Let's see, 1901, 1891, right? 1891, right?
Hey, why are you asking me math problems? I'm the worst person in the world when it comes to
Jeff,
math.
what's 1911 minus 20? It's 1891, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the average lifespan, I think 60 or 70, and you born in 1891.
I really hope so.
Yeah, 1961. So
green.
most people died in the 60s
Person
who were
listening
part
is
of
like
the
now.
Titanic. 60s, 70s, 80s at the latest. That's why that lady's so old in the movie from the 90s. She's
What?
like 102 years old.
What would you have done on the Titanic?
Died. Any tragedy I'd be a part of. Like if there's a zombie apocalypse, people like to
Would
believe
you
they
have
live.
tried to take a
No.
kid's spot?
Yeah, I would have pushed the lady out and got inside.
Push that old lady out. My jewel!
Yeah, I'll be in the movie instead of her. I'll be some old man.
You'll be the asshole that's floating on a board all by himself, eating the kids.
Oh, I would eat the kids the first second I got into the thing. I wouldn't wait.
Yeah, every time there's a fucking, like, thought of a zombie apocalypse, everyone's like,
I'd survive. I'd go to Walmart and lock the... It's like, no, you'd fucking walk outside and die. You'd be the first person to die.
they'd be like, I'll just be sitting on top of my garage just shooting zombies.
Shoot them, hitting them.
It's like, have you ever shot a weapon before?
A target, like from 5 feet away.
Call of Duty.
I can imagine both you and Chris pushing women into the water to take their spot.
I would, dude. I have a
Stamper
coward. I
would-
will push everybody out.
Stamper would head to like the captain's cabin and just sit there with a beer.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'd be fashioning my own boat on the other side of the ship out of like junk or something.
You know,
like
anybody,
ivory.
I have no, my moral goes away if I'm in danger. Everyone gets out. We're talking about this too. What situation would you be in?
Yeah.
Like if you were a Wawa stamper and there's some asshole with the gun came in, would you be the brave guy who jumps in front of people and saves people's lives? I would get the fuck out. I'm not going to save anybody. I'm not going to be a hero.
I think we've been over this. I really don't see any scenario where I'm diving
In front of anybody.
I would either hide from the dude or I'd try to take him out. I'm not gonna like
Yeah,
take
but
a bullet.
my point
though.
is like you see these videos of guys like on live like running in, like get shot in the face and they're like,
Yeah.
all right, give me the money still. It'd be super hard to tackle somebody with a gun.
I'd take a bullet from my sister. I would. For you though? Fuck no, man.
Take a 100% take a bullet for you. Why the fuck do you think it'd be the other way around?
I don't, because you're a nice guy.
I'm not gonna take a bullet for anybody, dude.
I don't even take a bullet for myself. If a dude came into Wawa with a pistol, I would be like, take what you need, man, because he's not there for me. He wants money.
What if he sees takes?
I would be on his side so fast. I would be like, listen, cashier, open that shit up, give him the money right now. So
What
we
if
can get out
he's
of
like,
here.
listen, cashier, you were too slow, and he blows your head off.
I'd be like, wow, that was unnecessary, bro.
And he takes the lady by the hair and he's like, what's your name? Stamper? Tell me a reason why I should let this old lady live. Why I shouldn't fucking paint the wall with their brains.
What is this, a Wesley Snipes
Yeah,
movie
this
now?
guy's a maniac. He wants power. Stamper, give me a reason why I shouldn't kill this old lady.
Please, Stamper. My husband is waiting for me at home with eggs.
Why eggs?
Stamper, please.
I'd be like, listen, old lady,
Bam!
you lived a good life.
She's dead, Stamper. You killed her.
I didn't kill her, it was him.
Killed her. So he gives you the gun and he runs away.
I would still sleep like a baby because I didn't do shit. I would get my sandwich and I would go home.
Right, he gives you a gun in your hands and makes you point it at the old lady.
He has multiple guns, or he gives me his only
gives you a
gun.
He puts a shotgun to the back of your head and says, all right, shoot the old lady or you
So he
die.
gives me a gun and then walks around back, pulls out a shotgun.
Yeah, it says shoot the old lady or you're fucking dead, Stamper.
I'd be like, old lady, how old are you? And she'd be like, 84 this Saturday. I'd be like, bang.
It clicks, there's no bullets. He's like, you would have shot an old lady. You're a fucking asshole. Then he leaves. The end.
Yeah, I'd feel pretty bad. She's like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You tried to shoot me in the face.
What about you, Jeff? What would you do in the situation? Would you shoot an old lady in the face?
I would punch Zach in the mouth for asking stupid questions.
Yeah.
This is gonna happen. This is
Zach's
real
just
life.
mad because the old lady at Wawa isn't nice to him.
Is that really where all this comes from?
Yeah, it's all this pent up sexual
She's nice
fantasy.
to me. Zach's like, why? It's like, I say hi to her. She just
Say hi to her.
Oh, you talking about Linda?
Is that
I always say hi, Linda. She goes,
She's like,
she
The-
pukes in her mouth whenever she sees me.
The one with the white hair.
The old white
yeah, she's
bitch.
like really old.
Yeah, I see people come in and talk to her all the time. time, and then
You get it too, though, right?
no, I think she liked me at first, but then I slipped up and I said something.
What'd you say?
I said, because everyone's like, "Hey, Linda," she's like, "Just a paper today," and it's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then I went up and I was like half drunk, and I think she knew that I used to smoke cigarettes, put my water down or whatever I had. And she was like, "Is that it?" And I was like, "I'm good for now, baby." And her face just went dead. Like, she did not appreciate me calling her baby.
Maybe she doesn't like me because she knows I'm associated with you.
How does an already pale person get even paler somehow?
She wasn't like horrified. She got mad. Like, she was.
Somebody's grandmother.
It's weird. Like, there's a guy in front of me, a guy behind me.
She hasn't been called baby since like 1913.
Yeah, maybe that's why I did it, to make her feel special about herself for once in her sad, almost over life.
Do you also think, we were talking about this too, do you think these people work at these places like McDonald's and Wawa, and because they're retired and they want to do it just cause?
Me and Jeff used to talk about this. There's a dude that used to work at the other Wawa. Oh, for people that don't know, Wawa's a convenience store. It's like 7-Eleven, but better. Anyways, there's a dude that used to work at the other Wawa, and I swear, like, we used to come up with like scenarios for what this guy did in his everyday, because he took so much pride in his work, and he was like maybe 40. We thought that he was like an engineer or something, like an architect.
So I would say it. So you think it's like an American Beauty thing where he just works at the fast food place just cause he's bored?
In this case, I think he was probably fired from his his aerospace job. And
you think he was fired and he just got this job because he had nothing else to do?
Or maybe he just needed money. But he took like the same amount of precision and care and fucking mopping the floor than it looks like he would at fucking NASA or something.
Yeah.
He was a really interesting guy.
What about people who are like 70 years old or 60 or 70? Do you think they're working there because they're retired and they got bored, or that they actually need to work?
Well, you need
to live.
You need purpose in life, or you can fucking die. That's probably why Linda's there right now, giving me the shit stare.
We are our other favorite employees is that beautiful black man with the dreadlocks. He looked like DJ from Street Fighter or something.
Yeah. He was like, he had like this big lion's mane of dreadlocks, and he was like the most beautiful black man on the face of the planet. He was so fucking handsome.
But he didn't look like he was enjoying his job. It looked like there was definitely something in his life he wanted to do that not work at Wawa.
He wanted to be a supermodel, and I would have supported that, I guess. Well, actually, I don't. No, he didn't. He needs to be, though. Every time he looked at me, I got bashful.
I'd feel bad. Every time I asked him to make me like my turkey sandwich, he'd just be grumbling back there. I'm like, "I'm sorry you're not on the cover of like Vogue magazine. You just make my sandwich. Thank you."
Jeff, where do you stand? Where do you stand, Samper?
On what?
On the amount of cream cheese, on the cream cheese debacle in
not
2014.
this again. Not the cream cheese again.
The cream cheese scandal, cream cheese gate.
Should we just go over this again? Zach specifically asked for extra cream cheese, and they gave him extra cream cheese.
Here's what really
and
happened.
Then he scraped it all off, and he got really mad.
That is a lie version.
That's the truth.
I asked for a regular amount of cream cheese, and they gave me something that would an ant would say this isn't enough.
Okay, first of all, nobody orders a bagel and says, "Remember, I just want a regular amount of." No, people do that.
There's a button that says little cream cheese, and a lot of cream chease. I click regular cream cheese, and it gives me a penny's worth for a whole bagel.
So you did ask for extra cream cheese.
I asked for because for weeks in a row, I asked for regular. Give me a fucking this much, something a mouse would eat and starve. And then I said, okay, well if I overcompensate, they'll give me the right amount. And I ordered way much, and they give me way. So my plan backfired.
So you're mad that the plant actually
worked.
Everything worked correctly.
Well, it didn't work. It didn't work. I was upset that they actually did their job right for once.
You were gaming the system, and you got what you deserved.
I was upset that they did their job right for once in their lives. They finally did something worth.
That was a lot of fucking cream cheese.
It was a lot. I scraped off like 2 inches.
Cream cheese on your desk.
Some people love that much cream cheese, though.
I think like a quarter of an inch of a solid layer is pretty good.
Didn't James do that once? You know what's bullshit? Cream cheese.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
We watched a couple of those.
Yeah.
What was it about? What was the gist of it?
He's like when you go to Dunkin' Donuts and like they put way too much cream cheese, and he's like, "Who's all this fucking cream cheese for?" When you squeeze it together, it's like seagull shit coming out of the hole.
See, I don't mind that though. I'd rather have too much than too little, because with too much you can scrape it off.
Yeah.
I have a question.
It's the same price. You should just get extra every time, right? Scrape half of it off into a tub in your fridge, and in a week you'll have a free tub of cream cheese. Bam. Free idea. What's your question?
I was just thinking actually that Wawa and Dunkin' Donuts are actually in pretty close proximity to each other, but Who the hell is going to Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast when it seems like Wawa would be better anyway?
Well, they have more choices, too.
Do they?
It sounds like an advertisement now.
Yeah,
they have more
Dunkin'
choices.
Donuts.
They're better. They're cheaper. They're cleaner.
They have more donuts. Well, actually,
They
maybe
do
not.
more donuts.
Well, yeah, because they're Dunkin' Donuts.
Wait, I'm saying Wawa has better options.
Oh.
I'm saying you can go to Wawa and get you can get anything. Dunkin' Donuts, you get a Dunkin' and a donut.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, every
two
morning
options.
I see...
the hell's a Dunkin'?
Every morning I see
or a
Dunkin'
donut, nothing
Donuts
else.
parking lot filled with people getting, like, their one of two breakfast sandwiches when Wawa's right down the street.
Most people are Dunkin' Donuts for the coffee. I used to get Dunkin' Donuts breakfast sandwiches all the time, and then they changed their eggs around. Now they have this gross floppy white egg thing.
Oh, instead of yellow eggs?
Instead of like that scrambled thing that they used to put in there, and it's fucking gross and hard to eat now. How do you put cheese, egg, and sausage on a sandwich and it's still bland? It doesn't make sense.
It's pretty basic. It should taste good.
Yeah.
Those things together.
Once they stopped doing, like, me and Corey would get one almost every morning, and then when they changed it, we both stopped going for breakfast. The last time I had one was like 4 days ago here, and Jeff was watching me choke it down with a frown on my face.
I had the turkey. If you had it's like a turkey and like melted cheese. That was alright. I had that. That was pretty good. Yeah.
Cut it out, Zach. You're making me hungry. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Zach.
Yes, Jeff?
Who would win?
I would.
I would.
Question over.
I'm just trying to have fun here. It's not fun.
Who would win, Jeff? Hitler?
Yeah.
Or the Incredible Hulk?
Well.
Yes.
Is Hitler infused?
It's just regular Hitler.
Wait. Oh, he's not infused.
Why is everything
he's not
Hitler with
infused
you,
with gamma
man?
rays?
It's Hitler with his little cute
Yeah, why is
mustache and his
everything
little
Hitler?
outfit. Why? He killed a lot of Jews. Who else to take on the
Do you
Hulk?
think the Nazis could have created the Hulk?
They tried to create ape people. Did you hear about this?
Ape people?
Yeah, they tried to get apes to give birth to people and tried to fuse them together. I'm not making a joke about this.
It's an interesting experiment. I would
There's
have tried it.
If you go on YouTube, I guarantee you'll find it. There's some cheesy History Channel documentary, and it has like terrible CG apes like munching down the thing in Nazi uniforms. It's really fucking stupid, but it's interesting.
I'm kind of glad we segued into this from Mike. I'm glad I didn't ask my question.
What was your question going to be? I'm curious now.
I was going to ask who would win, Voltron or Godzilla, but nobody wants to. No, that's stupid though.
That seems
Wait,
it's a silly question.
Who would win?
Godzilla 2014 versus Voltron 1985.
Here's the real question.
What?
The question everybody wants to know.
Who would win in a fight between Godzilla and Zach's fat ass mom?
My mom would push Godzilla over.
Is your mom fat?
No, she's pretty good. She jogs every day.
Really?
She MILF?
I don't give a shit.
Fuck you! Who would win? Terminator or RoboCop? Actually, who do you think would win?
Terminator.
Why?
Yeah, probably Terminator.
Also, I think the biggest factor in this is motivation. I think RoboCop would win if Terminator fucking stabbed his family in the face or something.
Because the Terminator doesn't feel pain. He doesn't feel pity or remorse.
Listen.
And he won't stop until you're dead, man.
Stamper.
What?
All I'm saying is, I think if RoboCop bumped into the Terminator while he was trying to chase John Connor,
just at
I think RoboCop would win. But I think if Terminator was designed to kill RoboCop, I think Terminator would win. I think that's the difference is who had the better motivation.
If he shot RoboCop in the eye, he'd be dead.
Yeah, but he'd be like, get away and push him over.
All right, look, RoboCop doesn't have like superhuman fucking amazing strength.
No, but he
right?
took out like 1,000 bullets in that drug warehouse scene.
Yeah, but a bunch of dudes cut him apart with a chainsaw in part 2.
But yeah, those guys just held him down. He was like, oh goodness. And then
he was cut apart.
Part 2.
Yeah.
And he took so much shit in Terminator 2.
Part 2 is canon, I'm just saying.
Terminator 2, he took so much shit. By the end of it, he was still fine.
Okay, Terminator 1 versus RoboCop 1. No sequels, only those two. Let's say the sequels.
Oh, now you're changing the rules.
No.
This is the same RoboCop and the same Terminator.
Yeah, the same RoboCop Terminator from Terminator 1. So let's say Terminator 1 was trying to kill Sarah Connor and RoboCop just got in his fucking way.
Yeah.
It wasn't his motivation. Who would win?
You know what?
But let's say RoboCop saw Terminator fucking pull his family's head off, of RoboCop's family's head off, he would have the motivation to kill Terminator.
You're on RoboCop's side. This whole argument is biased.
No, it is biased.
You're basically saying RoboCop somehow gets like retard strength when he gets upset.
I'm saying if he has motivation, I think Terminator would win if Terminator's target was RoboCop, but I don't think.
What if the Terminator?
Oh, so you're saying that?
I'm saying it depends on motivation.
Yeah, he would totally lose if he didn't care.
Motivation-wise, didn't care about whatever, get him away. But I think if RoboCop was like, get back here and fucking break his back.
Yeah, but the Terminator has the most motivation of all. He really only has one thought. To kill.
To kill Sarah Connor.
Well, what Zach's saying is, if that wasn't the case and it was his job to kill RoboCop, he would win. But that argument doesn't make any sense, because if Jeff is beating my ass and I don't care, of course he's going to win. If it's vice versa, of course I'm going to win.
Jeff's not a machine, though. Jeff's not a Terminator.
The Terminator would scan RoboCop and just see this stupid, soft human face and just aim his gun at it.
Yeah, those little beacons would just like zoom into his little baby face.
They say that RoboCop has like a metal skull. That's just like that's fake skin.
Are you sure about
that? It's not like bones.
Look, here's exactly what would happen.
They try to do that in one of the movies or miniseries. They try to shoot RoboCop in the face.
Terminator would be walking towards RoboCop, and then RoboCop would be like, "Freeze, creep!" Terminator's not going to stop. RoboCop's going to keep shooting him, and Terminator's still not going to stop. And RoboCop's going to be like, "Oh, well, this is fucking weird because he's not dying." And then, but the time Terminator gets up to RoboCop, within 30 seconds, he would have pulled off all his arms and killed him. It's that easy.
Who would win? The T-1000 or Marty McFly?
Marty, dumbass.
Drive circles around him.
You know what would be interesting?
What?
Hear me out. What if the T-1000 held a flux capacitor in one arm,
That's already
and
too
then
scary
wrapped
to think
himself
about.
around Marty, like a suit, almost like a metal suit, and then ran up to 88 miles an hour? Would he time travel?
Sorry, go back? Yeah. So you're saying the T-1000 was part of the time car?
Yeah, What if he like sort of insulated Marty, like he almost like formed around him like a metal suit, and then ran as like Marty up to 88 miles an hour?
He could do that. I think if the fact that he's metal, I think if he just fucking hugged the car, it would go back in time with him, right?
Does he need to hug like a car battery too to power the flux capacitor?
And also, what's the? Is there like a radius around the car that goes back in time? Do bugs get trapped on the windshield? Do they go back in time too? Is there like a force field around the car, or is it just everything that's inside the car? So like if the T-1000 slid into like the exhaust pipe, would he go back in time?
I'd say yes.
You think so?
I'd say yeah.
What if a
chance.
What if a cat was underneath the car inside the exhaust pipe? Would the cat go back in time?
Apparently the outside of the car gets really, really cold.
He probably wouldn't be able to get up to 80 miles, 88 with the cat in the tailpipe.
They sort of.
What if it was like hanging on the bottom of the car like that?
You remember Back to the Future 1 where when it reappeared, it was like freezing cold, and they just sort of ignored that rule from then on.
They never really do that. There's fucking fire over the wheels.
It was a really cool effect, and then they're just like, yeah, this is too much work.
It was like ice cold. It's like, what is it hot, Doc? And he's like, no, it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that was pretty cool. Because when you're a kid, you're like, wow, why is it
Where'd he
cold?
go? Why is it cold? What happened?
I bet he went to Alaska.
What did he do in Alaska? What would he even do in Alaska? What do you think?
What?
Doc Brown, what do you think he would do in Alaska?
I don't know. That's the dumbest question you probably ever asked ever in the
You
history
said he was in
of Zach.
Alaska. I don't know why he'd go to Alaska.
I agree with Tampa. That's a terrible question.
Why'd you say Doc Brown goes to Alaska?
Because the car was cold, dumbass!
Why did he drive to Alaska? He can go back anytime he wants to. He goes to fucking Alaska where there's bears?
Because Alaska's cold,
He
Zach.
can go back to 1850. He goes to see the polar bears?
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are we done with this?
Who do you think would win the fight if you went to Alaska and the aliens abducted Doc Brown? You think Doc Brown could kill the aliens?
He's not really
If he fucking gouges their eyes out.
like their big black
Yeah, he
eyes.
fucking sticks his thumbs inside of them before they can grab him.
You can't do that because when aliens surround your bed, you're paralyzed for some
Now
reason.
he breaks out
remember?
like the Hulk. He comes free and fucking gouges their eyes out.
I
What
think
would they
Doc
do?
Brown is pretty worthless, personally.
Without his technology.
Yeah. Wait, did he ever have a job before just being like a
Yeah, he
crap-
did. Wasn't he really rich when he quit his job because he had the idea for the flux capacitor? He was taking a shit or something.
I don't know.
No,
He had
fell
a
off
huge
his-
house.
So he hit his head or something.
Yeah, but he had a huge fucking house before all that.
Yeah.
So where do you get all his money from?
Yeah, it's like a family thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just some entitled shithead that.
Maybe he was like a good. Maybe he did throw together some good inventions or something.
I think that's what they say he did. He had like this spaghetti helmet that did
Yeah,
some
but it didn't
bullshit.
work.
Yeah, but my point is, you get the idea that maybe he was a failed. That's true. I don't
He
know.
was a huge failure.
Maybe he was a porn star.
Well, if he could pull together the DeLorean, I'm sure he put something together. He probably was responsible for inventing like the electric mixer.
Toaster or something, yeah.
Maybe. Something silly.
It does feel like a family thing, though. It does feel like maybe he inherited the house and maybe he had rich parents or something.
Like Brown Manor or something like that.
Yeah.
He was pretty old, though, so maybe he just saved his money and
He
spent
wasn't
it
that old
wisely.
when that movie came out.
What would you do if your son was going, like, bye, Dad, I'm going to go hang out with Doc Brown? And it's just like some old man.
Who lives alone with his dog.
Yeah.
There's clocks everywhere.
Where do you think they met?
That's creepy to think about. I don't know.
What if you met an old man and you're just like, hey man, he's like, what do you like? And you're like, I like.
What are you into?
You're like, I like music. And then he builds.
I have all kinds of music.
He builds a 12-foot speaker system for you.
Just for you. Yeah, that is very like pampering. That's what you hear on Dr. Phil, like guys like buy their little victims.
Marty,
Xboxes, like Xboxes.
Oh, what's it called? It's like conditioning?
Yeah, conditioning and pampering them, yeah. Conditioning them.
You can use this anytime.
Hey, you can use this anytime you want.
Yeah,
Come on over.
Here's a key to my house.
Like
Do whatever you want.
I didn't think that he built that for Marty. I just thought, when I was a kid, I thought Marty was a dick because he walked into Doc's house and blew everything and destroyed his property. I was
So
like,
wait,
go apologize.
Is that a different house than the house?
The big house?
Yeah.
Because it seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, he moves into a way smaller house.
Oh, right.
He sells the house to do that.
Oh, that's like a subtle thing. That's like, I guess he worked on the DeLorean for so long he couldn't afford his rent anymore.
And he's got
Yeah, for like 30 years.
His house and the house in like Pee-wee's Playhouse, Pee-wee's Big Adventure are kind of similar in a way. He's kind of got that breakfast like Rube Goldberg machine too, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
That doesn't work either.
I think it's Back to the Future 3, right?
No, it opens.
It's in 3 when
It's
in
in
the
one where
1800s, right?
it's not even for human. It's to feed the dog.
Do they not have a breakfast thing though in the 1800s where he fucking scrambles the eggs and makes the toast?
No. I think that's like a throwback to the first one to show you that the movies are related.
Oh, okay, I see.
Because he had like burning coffee and shit like that. That wasn't. It was clearly like Doc hasn't been home for a while.
Okay.
He's clearly like really shitty at what he does.
Except for the one thing inventing time travel. That was a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
He just fucking sits at home making things like an electric dog food can opener that feeds his dog that probably took him like 2 months to build, and then he's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna make a time machine now.
Then he steals plutonium from the
Iranians or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it? It's the Egyptians or Iranians or
No,
something?
the Egyptians.
Oh my God! Yeah, come on, it's Libyans.
Libyans, and they fucking shoot him to death.
And then you get you wonder like.
I think that's probably the one weird maybe part. It's just I watch it like.
Well, where else is he gonna get it?
I don't know. From the government, maybe the government comes down with black helicopter. I don't know.
What do you think they met even?
For such a
Doc and Marty.
No, like Doc and the Libyans.
I don't know.
He goes to the Middle East, and like some bizarre. I need to buy uranium.
They give this scientist who's never built a successful thing in his life plutonium to build a bomb, and he still doesn't build the bomb. He fails at that too.
Yeah, he'd be on some kind of terrorist list now. Doc Brown would be.
Yeah.
And then for as smart as he is, he like lies to terrorists. Like, don't do that. You can't do that.
He lies to terrorists, and they know where he lives too. They come with fucking screaming with AK-47s in the air.
They even know he hangs out in the mall.
Yeah,
parking lot
how'd they
every
find
night.
him in the mall parking lot? Did they spy him or something?
Recon.
I guess.
He's probably like, by the way, you can find me in the mall parking lot.
But don't shoot me.
Yeah, I don't know how Doc and Marty even met to begin. It's like a weird Breaking Bad kind of situation.
Maybe
like,
he was skateboarding down the street and he was like, get off my lawn.
And he's like, you seem kind of cool.
Yeah, come on in.
You know, it's right.
There you go. There's the prequel.
Are we that out of ideas that we have to look at our walls for inspiration? We're going to run out. We have literally 3 movie posters on the wall. Terminator did that. Back to the Future did that. We got Ghostbusters. Might as well just talk about that now. Let's talk about Ray and Egon and Winston. Let's have a Winston cast. Winston.
He has to be a Ghostbuster with a bunch of cis white males.
Yeah, disgusting. Ugh. Bunch of white guys busting ghosts? Wow, that's not...
Bunch of white guys busting white ghosts.
Yeah,
What's
wow.
this about?
Yeah, where's all the black ghosts at?
Where's the 2014 ghosts?
How come you never see a black ghost in a movie?
You never see ghosts from... It's always like a white 50-year-old people from 1805 who walk down with the... It's like...
In their dresses.
It's like, man, we were talking about this. Why isn't there like a black dude with like baggy pants and a how's it going? You know what I mean?
He's like a ghost with like a Sean John shirt.
Yeah. There's never like anybody with a Pink Floyd t-shirt as a ghost walking around.
Yeah.
And just to call back for a second, when we were talking about Titanic, and it was a Titanic joke in Ghostbusters too.
Yeah.
Now, if it ever made if it ever went to like Ghostbusters 13, would they have like oh the Twin Towers are back and there's a bunch of ghosts running around?
Oh yeah, that wasn't
they do
really.
that?
Well, let's see.
Maybe the
84 minus 1911, 12, 13. So what is that, like 7 years?
Yeah. So if we went to like year 20, if it was like 2070 or 2080.
2070.
Is that when
2071.
9/11 is officially comedy material for people?
What's your cutoff? Like
that South Park rule is like 23 years. Make something funny. AIDS becomes funny after 23 years.
Yeah, I think it would take a little bit longer than 23 years.
I figured the Titanic just became funny after
everyone who was alive during it died for the most part.
Essentially, yeah, because then you're not hurting feelings anymore.
Is a sinking ship just inherently funny? Is that funnier than
I guess it is kind of funny
or something?
What is the most fucked up thing that you legitimately find funny?
That's hard. Like, you mean that I think is inherently funny?
Yeah. For me, it's people getting stoned to death. Cause it's
I'm horrified by that.
Because it's like you're sitting in the middle of this ring. Nobody else agrees with me, but you're sitting in this middle of this group of people, and there's other more effective ways to kill you, right? But they're just finding whatever rocks they can. They're trying to find good rocks, and they just hit you with rocks. And there's kids, and they throw really
rocks with people.
All right, I'll say somebody getting pulled into a wood chipper. It's kind of funny to me.
That's horrible, Jeff. That is just horrible.
I mean, come on now.
Face first or feet first?
Face first is the only way to go.
I haven't had this joke in one of my cartoons. Like, if you get ran over by a tank, would be more fucked up going like feet first or head first?
I'd rather go head first.
If you went feet first, you'd hear him screaming all the way to the head.
I saw this video. This is not funny. I think this is probably the funny. Have either of you guys watched Venture Brothers?
I've seen a couple episodes.
There's one episode. It's like season 1. It's a really early one, or season 2, where there's like basically the whole joke is like the hopes that this dude's screaming in pain. He's some ghost. They put him to rest. But there's a video I saw of this dude who lit himself on fire and then regretted it, and it's fucking screaming just like that. And he's like screaming and running down a hallway on fire. And it's not funny, but I laughed at it because it reminded me of that.
But it was in a cartoon, but it wasn't meant to be funny.
No, well, the cartoon was supposed to be funny, but in real life, a guy lit himself on fire and regretted it. And it was like screaming down and running on fire.
Oh, like Buddhist style? Tried to.
Yeah, but he was like, oh shit, no, I don't want it. And he's,
I don't think anything to do with fire is funny to me.
I think people with big tumor people with big fucking. We were talking about the Harlequin fetus is pretty funny. Jelly bean eyes, you were saying?
Jelly bean.
All right, guilty as charged.
You like the jelly bean eyes.
I did find the Harlequin syndrome thing funny.
Jelly bean eyes.
He called them jelly bean eyes. It's the funniest thing I've heard all week.
Well, jelly beans.
You still remember when he made that arcade stick design where like the buttons were like, oh no, I made that. Never mind. I made an arcade stick design where like the two red buttons in the middle were like the Harlequin eyes.
People had the dumbest fucking arcade stick designs. I actually heard that when you light yourself on fire, that your pain receptors cut off faster than you think because you're burning through your nerve endings.
I think probably the screaming would be also psychological because you're watching your fucking skin melt and so you're feeling your eyes melt.
Well, not if you're sitting like a Buddhist with your eyes closed praying.
I would die.
They also say that your eyes melt and your brains melt out of your nose. So like.
And then something about inhaling nothing but smoke while you're sitting there.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
It's probably gonna get you faster than you think too.
I would let Egyptians pull my brain out of my nose with fish hooks before I allowed that. I would not.
What do you think the worst way to die would be that you would like regret?
Well, I don't think I'd be around to regret it.
But I mean, not regret. Sorry. What's the worst thing that you'd be afraid of encountering that would be horrible to you?
Oh, you know what? Probably something simple, like if I was floating around in the middle of the ocean and there's a fucking shark. You just see him, and the whole time you're waiting for him because you know he's coming for you, and he's just fucking with you, and he's just swimming around.
Taking bites off, too.
Like, yeah, taking little love bites off your feet and stuff, and you know you're fucked because you're in the middle of the damn ocean.
And then the question's like, well, do I stick my head under and hope he bites it off, or do I wait to fucking eat me in half?
Do I do that thing where I punch him in the face and stab his eyes out? Why? So his friends can come and take revenge?
And also, if he bites your leg off, you're sitting there screaming, and you're just kind of waiting. What if he bites it and he goes, I don't like it, and he goes away? Now you're bleeding out in the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
And you don't know what else is going to.
Why is he going to bite me and go, just testing it?
What if you were out on a safari and all of a sudden a hungry lion saw you?
and there was one big rock in the middle of like nowhere, and it was just you on one side and him on the other, and it's just this game of trying to stay on the other side of the rock from this fucking hungry line, and this just went on for hours and hours and hours.
I'll tell you what, I would scream. I'd go like a crazy ape and start screaming, but hopefully he's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this guy.
Oh, you'd open your shirt up and
somehow find you unappetizing.
Yeah. And he would just stare at me and fucking come eat me anyways, but I would give it a try.
I'd lift my shirt up and he'd see my gross titties and he'd be like and run away.
You get a big erection and show it to him.